Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. So this is still Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. One of my viewers sent me a video about this on Instagram, and numerous people have left comments about the possibility that this is a hologram. And um, the video clip that didn't offer much evidence other than that this is the guy here, right? There's a picture of the guy who Candace Owens said showed her the video on this with an SD card, and he had video of this, and I don't know if she's lying, if it's a hologram, whether she's a part of it because she's connected to these guys, or they sent her some video that didn't come from this because it's a hologram. But I'm not saying this is a hologram. I'm just saying it's a possibility. So this is a hologram machine, and so this guy immediately went to this and took it down, and he said it was because people were evil, and he didn't want them getting a copy of the videos. I don't know how that would have happened unless somebody ran up and grabbed it, some random person in the audience, most of whom were fleeing. Um, he said, whatever, he thought that they should grab the footage. And then he had it and he was worried for his life. And I guess the people from the agency said that he turned it over to the FBI. Candace Owens said he still had it. She knew the guy, called him up, and they had conversations about it, and he showed her the video. And the video showed no blood other than on Charlie's hand, this whole thing. And so, if this is a secondary story to sort of distract people, I mean, oftentimes they have multiple narratives in the world of independent journalism and things like this. And so it's a possibility. So here are the hologram projectors. These are $19,000, basically $20,000. I searched high to low. So these are the high-end ones. Here's one that's $10,000. So they need a room, but the guy said they need a room 10 by 10, and that was a 10 by 10, and that was the size of Charlie Kirk's tent. I question. I mean, I don't know how far this technology has been developed, and I have no idea. We've seen some sophisticated holograms. I don't know if they could pull it off or not. Possibly. I'm not closing the door to anything because, the official story is bullshit, right? It's not realistic at all. Doesn't add up. So this is something, like it's possible. There's going to be these various theories, and I'm not going to get into them. I'll say which one I think it is maybe after all the smoke clears, but maybe none of them. Like maybe none of this is really important because of what we do know is that this is an operation being used to move people. Trump is doing drone strikes on boats in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico off the Florida coast or wherever it is, right? Like he's just killing people against international law and American policies without any sort of trial. He's attacking the left in a way that is totally uncool. No matter how bad the left is, he's not, he's certainly not any better. He's worse at this point. And you can't do things like that. And then the whole Charlie Kirk thing is that, whatever that is, and the fact that Epstein stuff has been forgotten, and Epstein itself is not really going to lead to anything. So all this stuff is, I think you guys know how I feel about it. I guess he gave an epic talk, an epically bad talk. His talks are getting more and more delusional and less coherent. And he's like kind of let himself go, a little bit. He's old. And, apparently he just was a mess at the UN. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm sure I'll cover it tomorrow when I make the rest of this video. But anyways, this is the idea of the hologram. We do know there is hologram technology now. And whether that's, they certainly aren't above using. It's just a matter if they could pull it off. And that's, that is whatever it is. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today is, I don't know, Wednesday? Yeah. September 24th, 2025. We're going to get this guy a second. So I want to talk about the hypocrisy of Turning Point. I got a great comment to just absolutely obliterate. Prove me wrong kind of bullshit. That's that Charlie Kirk used to do, right? But this isn't that. This is for reals. I have this video that took off. Now it's the one that's got the most views. It's about Erica Kirk throwing up the devil's horns. And I have already, yesterday I was scrolling through, banning people who didn't watch the video because I addressed it in the video. I'll address it again today here when I start reading some comments that were saying that this was the American Sign Language for I love you, right? And there was maybe 200 comments from people. The video has 13,000 views, so it had about 9,000 when I answered comments yesterday, so there's probably another 100 or so of these dopes, annoying dopes, who are telling me that it isn't devil's horns, it's the I love you for American Sign Language, which if they watched the video, they would have heard me address it. But they didn't because they're not interested in the video. They're interested in saying these stupid things. And I was scrolling through and I'm like, oh my God, it must be towards the end. Right. And somebody wrote, this, of course it's devil's horns. It's not I love you. And so I'm going from most recent to older comments. So I knew there was more. I was like, oh, there's more? There's more of these? And so, but let's start here.
When I see Erica and her strength and her courage, I'm reminded of a famous expression. The storm whispers to the warrior that you cannot withstand my strength.
This is the kind of guy you don't want in your government, right? So he's one of Trump's political advisors. He had been deputy White House chief of staff. He got up there and he was, Trump was referring to him about something. His parents were apparently just escaped being persecuted or grandparents or something, I don't know, in the Holocaust. He's totally on board with the Israeli. I mean, he's the Israeli shill. We're going to talk about that more today. We're going to talk about Charlie Shekels Kirk and why he's shekels. Why shekels is he took the shekels to and now their turning point is being deceptive about it, right? They're pretending he never took any foreign money, which is it's even worse. It's just so fucking greasy. I'll show you this stuff in a moment. But here, this guy goes off.
And the warrior whispers back, I am the storm. Erica is...
That's QB stuff. So I wanted to say, this whole thing is bathed in red. One of my commenters pointed out, I forgot that, red is always either in some kind of one of these Freemasonic Illuminati ritualistic things. Why bathe it in red, right? People when they think of red in terms of Christianity, it's the devil, right? You don't use red. Red is a war color for anger and for these, all these Hollywood, premieres and movies and, the Oscars, award shows, they bathe. You see this with a lot of concerts. They bathe the stage and the performer in red light, and red has association with not godly things, right? When you think about God, when you're just doing stagecraft for God, right? This is all stagecraft. They could have chose any color. They chose red. Red is predominant here. You look at it, it's this is how many red houses do you see? I'm talking about brick, but it's just something where it has a there's a devil worshiping kind of ritualistic theme to it.
The storm. We are the storm. And our enemies cannot comprehend our strength, our determination, our resolve.
Okay, so the official story is this was a lone guy. The lone angry young man who really wasn't all that angry, grew up in the suburbs, living with a dude who wants to be a woman. Right? He's 22 years old, skinny, non-ex-military, non-trauma abuse survivor kind of person. Not the kind of person that would do this, right? as a profile, but they have this profile of angry young people that act independently and kill somebody. So who are your enemies, right? People like you guys are both talking shit. Trump is calling people fascists. Trump is calling people demons. Trump is using provocative language. Got him in trouble on January 6th. And, he weaseled out of that, because they needed him. The bottom line is for everybody who's still a Trumper. Trump is, and now he's just taking, he's shooting, he's droning these ships saying it's drug people without, he's just doing things that a president can't do or shouldn't do. And I'm going to get to his UN speech, which it seems long, so I don't know if I'm going to cover it all today. But it just seems, he's way worse than Joe Biden. Like this is when I'm talking to all these dumb fucks, who are now showing up on my channel again because it's this video or whatever it is. When I'm talking to you, you Trumpers, you fake Christians, you Charlie Kirk people, you did this. Like Trump is, if you can't admit that Trump has gone off the rails, and he's Joe Biden, he's worse than Joe Biden is. Like that's unthinkable. He's worse on censorship, he's worse on everything than Joe Biden was. Like so, you did this. Like you got duped, and you can't even admit you got duped. And this guy, who's this guy talking about? Like our enemies? The liberals and the Democrats are denuded. They have no answer for Trump. Trump is just going full Trump, doing whatever he wants to do. There's no pushback. And the people who are, if you think there's a shadow government, they would take Trump out if they were against what he was doing. If there's a shadow government, which all of us believe, like that's all of us agree that there's some sort of shadow government, whatever deep state, they would try to take Trump out if he wasn't doing what they wanted. J.D. Vance couldn't get away with what Trump is doing. Like Trump is singular in his ability to do what he's doing. And he's old and he's senile. He's entered into, he's dementia land, and he's going full fucking, dictator, hate speech, kill my enemies and censor everybody and, all this shit, right? He's bringing in a dystopian reality, destroying the economy. He's fucking America, right? Like America's going to be broken. And, you're getting this from a person who believes it's God's will, that the only solution to this is taking the system down. That God, in some way, Trump is doing God's work, not because he's a demon doing God's work, right? In terms of taking a demonic system down. And so, I know it's going to suck for me and all of us on a material level, but it seems like the only way out of this thing. Humanity's going in the wrong direction. We keep on getting worse and worse. We all see the idiocracy that's setting in. And a big part of the idiocracy is you guys, like the Trumpers and the Charlie Kirk people. Because you can't admit that you got fucking rolled and duped. And this guy's, they're the opposite of what you thought they were.
Our passion, our lineage, and our legacy hails back to Athens, to Rome, to Philadelphia, to Monticello. Our ancestors built the cities. They produced the art and architecture. They built the industry. Erica stands on the shoulders of thousands of years of warriors, of women who raised up families, raised up city, raised up industry, raised up civilization.
Like, listen to this guy, to his intonation. These are like horrible people, right? The vibrations of the way they speak and you just want to turn them off, right?
Who pulled us out of the caves and the darkness into the light. The light will defeat the dark. We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened. They
can't imagine what they've awakened. What do you mean they? Who's the fuck is they? So you're a White House advisor. You have a position here. Who the fuck is they? Because the official story coming out of the FBI and your government, your fucking shills, Kash Patel and all these people, is that some random 22-year-old got radicalized in 2 months and decided to take a shot at Charlie Kirk. And there was a magic bullet that somehow Charlie Kirk's bone structure absorbed, right? So, like, who's they? And look at this guy, right? So
cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us.
now he doesn't know Erica Kirk's gonna forgive the guy, right? But the they is Israel, and this guy's a shill for Israel. Like he's talking about like the army that he wants to set on the Palestinian Middle Eastern people because he's I bet he's a dual citizen. So he's that guy, right? He's some independent advisor to Trump. Maybe he's the guy that's like blackmailing him, right? With the Epstein stuff they have on him.
Because we stand for what is good, what is virtuous, what is noble. And to those trying to incite violence against us.
Okay, so you think that the liberals are trying to incite violence against you? Right? We have these shill groups, the liberal groups. Trump has called Antifa a terrorist group. And I mean, it's not that Antifa's good. Of course they're not. They suck. But, like this is going after your political enemies with, I mean, everything the Constitution stood for and all these things, which, the democracy doesn't work. The whole thing, I don't believe in any of it, right? I'm not a patriot. I'm not like yay, rah, America. We're an evil empire. And the evil empires eventually crumble like this one's crumbling. From the depravity, right? From the immorality, from the going against God's will. And so it's going to happen. It's happening right now. But the rhetoric is fucked, right? And if you're a foreign government, listen to this rhetoric and whatever Trump did up at the UN, which I haven't even seen yet, but people are reacting to it already. Like he went up there and talked shit to them, and they just made all these other countries are recognizing Israel as whatever it is, right? Not Israel, Palestine as a state, and so they're just this is where America's going to be divided against everybody else, Israel and America against these other countries, and it's happening right now. Like it's the bombs are about to start flying, kind of stuff.
Those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing.
They're applauding this guy. Like he's such a little weasel. His voice, and he's saying horrific things. I mean.
Create nothing. We are the ones who build. We are the ones who create. We are the ones who lift up humanity. You thought you could kill Charlie Kirk? You have made him immortal. You have
made him immortal.
Charlie Kirk. And now millions will carry on his legacy. And we will devote the rest of our lives to finishing the causes for which Charlie gave his last measure of devotion. You cannot defeat us. You cannot slow us. You cannot stop us. You cannot deter us. We will carry Charlie and Erica in our heart every single day. And
you have a heart? Homeland Security Advisor is his title. Homeland Security Advisor. There's a guy who's in charge of your Homeland Security, right?
Fight that much harder because of what you did to us.
Wait, who are you talking about? Like the people who said you guys are fascists? I mean, Trump's a dictator right now. Trump is a fucking dictator. They have no answer for him. He's doing whatever fuck he wants, and whatever fuck he wants is messed up. Guys have created martial law. You've done all these things that are, the opposite of what our country's Constitution stands for. And you're supposed to be on the side of patriots. And for whatever reason, the people that are patriotic and love the Constitution, these things, are unwilling to realize that they got fucked. They got duped by Trump. And Trump is now, in full Joe Biden puppet mode, where Trump is just auto-penning things like the big, beautiful bill. He's not, Trump is not a curious, thoughtful, person who reads, documents and understands the, lay of the land. He's just, all you have to do with Trump is butter him up. And Trump has been convinced that this path that he's on and the people that are pushing this path are, making him great. And this is all the stuff that he's doing is great. And it's not, right? It's horrible. He's destroyed the economy. He's destroyed the, he's getting rid of freedom of speech. He's brought troops into the cities. He's covering up for his relation. He's a pedo with Jeffrey Epstein relationship that he had, his buddy, Jeffrey Epstein. And they got people like this fucking guy, this little weasel.
You have no idea the dragon you have awakened. You have no idea how determined we will be to save this civilization, to save the West, to save this republic. Because our children are strong, and our grandchildren will be strong, and our children's children.
Your children are liberals, bro. Your children, your Republican children ratted their conservative truther QB parents out on January 6th. Like your kids are indoctrinated to your children are pussies, right? Your children are like liberal pussies.
Children will be strong. And what will you leave behind? Nothing. Nothing. To our enemies, you have nothing to give, you have nothing to offer, you have nothing to share, but bitterness. We have beauty, we have light, we have goodness, we have determination. You
don't feel it. It doesn't feel like you have light and goodness. It feels like you're just an angry piece of shit, right? Like weaselly piece of shit.
Vision, we have strength. We built the world that we inhabit now, generation by generation. And we will defend this world. We will defend goodness. We will defend light. We will defend virtue. You cannot terrify us. You cannot frighten us. You cannot threaten us. Because we are on the side of goodness. We are on the side of God.
Even by the already...
Okay, so Stephen Miller doesn't seem like a guy who has God on his hands, right? God on his side. But this video popped up, and it has some highlights of Trump's speech in the UN. I wasn't going to do this now, but let's do that. Then I'll go to the Charlie Kirk, his relationship with Israel, which, I was talking about before, the stuff with the magic bullet and all these things. Sort of turn the tide a little bit, the hologram. Here.
Impossibly degraded standards. The last 48 hours of Donald Trump's pronouncements have been disturbing and dangerous. It started yesterday during a bizarre address about autism, Tylenol, and vaccines.
Yeah, that's what I want. But here's the part.
Topics in front of the whole world.
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump,
Who's that guy?
On the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex. I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything. It would be beautiful. I used to talk about, I'm going to give you marble floors. They're going to give you terrazzo. I'm going to give you the best of everything. You're going to have mahogany walls. They're going to give you plastic. But
Plastic walls?
Decided to go in another direction. You walk on terrazzo. Do you notice that? And I'm really good at predicting things, They actually said during the campaign they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say
but by your dumb fucks. Like, dumb fucks are wearing that hat. Trump is wrong about everything now, right? Now, your second term, you're wrong about everything. You were right about stuff that Joe Biden said or did because it wasn't hard to predict. But now I'm right about everything about you, and so are all the people that said you were going to be a dictator and all the things. Even the liberals are right. Even the fucking liberals and liberal media are right about you. they're right about Trump, right? And so, I mean, you got a bunch of dumb fucks. You convinced a bunch of stupid people that you were on their side when you're an elitist piece of shit, right? And so,
That in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything.
how do you take my braggadocious word? Are they listening to me? Because that was my word that I made up. I don't know if you guys have heard. I've always said piece braggadocious, and that's a word my kids I think you made up when they were little, and so or I think some kind of variation, but it's not a real word, and I use it as a joke.
And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail.
Okay, so I don't know what he said about Israel or Palestine.
And in all cases, they were raging with countless thousands of people being killed. This includes Cambodia and Thailand, Kosovo and Serbia.
Okay, so I want to get back to that. Whatever, I got a bunch of stuff to show you here. That's going to be the main part of the video. I went with the hologram thing first, and then the possibility of a hologram or how fake this thing is with Charlie Kirk. We don't know, and you're never going to know. It's just one of those things. I want to address the Devil's Horns thing again. I'm going to read some of those comments in a bit. But first, there's this one specific comment here. This video is still getting views. Usually the videos stop after the first day. The Erica forgives unconvicted Patsy. Erica Kirk forgives unconvicted Patsy and throws up the Devil's Horns. And so most of the comments are people just coming. They're hollow views, and I'll talk about that in a bit. People just come to comment on the title. That's the American Sign Language. She was saying, I love you. And like I said, I'll address that in a bit. So here's what this person said. There is a lot of untruths in this video. Untruths. You mean lies? Charlie Kirk never accepted money from Israel. That has all been confirmed on Candace Owens' episode today. There's a lot of stuff you are saying that is not true. Have some respect and human compassion. He was a good guy. You were sneering at people's misfortune of being murdered and getting clicks and making money. That's disgusting. Okay, so that's not what Candace Owens said. She's the one who said in the first place that Charlie Kirk was getting money from Israel. So I didn't even know who Charlie Kirk was. I had heard his name. I had no idea about Turning Point. I had no idea what he did. I originally heard his name, and I don't even know who Candace Owens is, really. So I don't listen to these people. I don't listen to them. I listen to Tucker Carlson on a few of his interviews. A couple of things he produced that was, interesting. He was, whatever the stuff with the Callie and Casey means and that whole thing and some of these other things. But very rarely do I listen to Tucker Carlson, but I knew who he was before. And when he, had this moment of being fired from Fox and then going on Twitter and then just being more of a right-wing shill CIA operative truther or whatever he is, right? And Megyn Kelly, I barely knew it at all either. But the person I knew least was Charlie Kirk. And I listened to Candace Owens about 2 weeks ago, before Charlie Kirk was, this whole thing happened, maybe 3 weeks ago now, because they were starting to almost hint at turning on Trump over Epstein. And she was saying that this guy, Charlie Kirk, and maybe I had heard his name before. That's it. I didn't know what he looked like. I didn't know about his crazy wife. I didn't know about any of these things. This whole weird thing that he does. And she said he was starting to turn on Israel. And he was being persecuted. And that was the reference point I had for Charlie Kirk. And then when he was killed, the first video that was sent to me, I think it was my wife, she found it somewhere. He was talking about Jeffrey Epstein possibly being Mossad, or that he was kind of saying Jeffrey Epstein was Mossad. And so that's all I knew about him when it first happened. And so I didn't think I was going to even cover this in depth. I knew nothing about it. But she's the one who said, And Megyn Kelly, the one who said that he basically hinted at it himself, that Israel was turning on him for his views, and they were cutting off his funding. And so that's when he became shekels. And so here's first, let's go to the video. This video, so this person said today's video, which was yesterday, today's Wednesday, September 24th. So he was talking about Tuesday video, and I found the reference that he was talking about. So let me show you here.
Obviously, he's been a topic of discussion. He did the Charlie show with him, and so he sat next to Charlie throughout all of that. They were very close. He's also the PR agent for Turning Point USA, and he's also the one that issued the statement, therefore, about what is now being termed the other magic bullet, and magic bullet being the first one, JFK.
Miracle bullet. It's also the miracle bullet.
It kind of seems like when the government might be involved, bullets tend to have magical properties. Anyways, I've said yesterday, his job is pretty tough, and it's made even tougher by the fact that if he's told to say something, he has to say it. That's just how it works in PR. And I'm sure there are lawyers.
Yeah, and you can quit that, or you don't have to do that. You don't have to fucking lie. So you're saying that PR people are just has to fucking lie. That's all they can do, right? But you don't have to lie. You can always quit your job. You can always say the truth, right? I mean, shouldn't you just be able to say the truth if Charlie Kirk's assassination was what it is? If there wasn't an operation, it wasn't something fake, it wasn't something staged, it wasn't something hologrammed, it wasn't something, you'd just be able to tell the truth, right? And if it was a real religious organization, it was a clean organization, and now it's growing, based in Charlie Kirk's fake martyrdom, wouldn't you just be able to tell the truth, right? Like she's saying, she used to work there. So people were saying that her reaction, and I didn't see much of it, and maybe a little bit, but her reaction to Charlie Kirk's death was much more sincere than his wife's. And, whatever his wife's role in this thing is, I mean, her appearances have been, other than the people that lap that shit up, have been a disaster. I mean, they're ridiculous, right? So,
involved as well. He went on to the Alex Clark podcast. Now, it was kind of billed, I think people were expecting, but actually Alex Clark never did say that Erica Kirk was going to be the one to answer questions pertaining to Charlie and to clear up some rumors about his personal life. She teased that, that you were going to get unfiltered answers to burning questions like, quote, was Charlie converting to Catholicism? Again, I have no idea who said he was converting to Catholicism. I feel like it's like intentionally
Okay, so I'm going to get to this part here. So at some point they show that.
I think Erica kind of follows that same path. She and I share that.
Also, by the way, I just want to draw attention to, she's posted a photo of her and Charlie and the kids in mass before, and somebody in the comment section said, "Oh, are you?"
Okay, so that's that part, but here's the other part, the Israel part.
They're going to answer this question about whether or not Charlie was offered money, Israeli money, is interesting. Take a listen.
Was Charlie offered $150 million from Israel?
As far as I know, no.
I had never heard anything like that. Everyone I've asked has said the same thing.
And by the way, just for what it's worth, it doesn't matter the amount that would have been coming down. We would have said no.
And there's evidence that is true.
Turning Point does not.
There's evidence that that's true. This is the thing here. This is what the commenter was saying, right?
That would have been coming down. We would have said no.
And there's evidence that is true.
Turning Point does not. Charlie would not accept foreign money.
Exactly.
We only took American money.
Yep.
There was money sent to us, like practically in multiple instances where they're trying to cram it down our bank account. And we said no. We canceled like money wires and things.
No foreign money. And also,
you canceled money wires. You have to give out the money to somebody wire you. People can't just wire money into your bank account without some knowledge. You canceled people wiring money, and you have to give them your information. People don't just send money to you. They're trying to get something out of you, right? But
no handouts from the government. During the
100%.
pandemic, he refused to do mass layoffs that everybody
And no
else in the country
PPE.
was doing. Said no to the whatever that check was. What was that they were handing out?
The-
Stimulus check.
Yeah, the PPE loans, right? I always get PPP and PPE mixed up, but
Yeah, but it was a good amount of money that at the
I think it was
time we
PPP.
could have used.
Yeah.
He put out a company statement saying, this was tempting for sure, but we're going to say no.
Yeah.
I mean, he was very principled in that way.
He was extremely principled, especially on foreign money. I remember moments we'd be at like an event, and some foreign people would come up and like demand a meeting or try and get a meeting.
Some foreign people would come up. They were foreigners, and they were demanding shit for foreign people. So the people that would want Charlie Kirk's attention is number one Israel, because he was a shill for Israel. He was taking shekels, which I'll get into in a moment, because they can say this, and it makes it worse. It makes them even worse lying pieces of shit. Again, I don't know any of this stuff. Like I didn't know anything about the guy, and I just found out about him 2 weeks ago. This is coming from her and Megyn Kelly and Charlie Kirk himself, right? That there was a break in his relationship with the Israeli lobby because they're the people that turned on him. And so I'll show you the clips that I saw that made me say this guy took shekels, because he did, because, if all these people are saying that he took money from Israel, and again, they're not from the Israeli government, so he's getting into, this is Weasley Ted Cruz interview with when Tucker Carlson destroyed Ted Cruz over this thing, right? And so they can say, yeah, we didn't take foreign money, but there's ways you can take foreign money in a Weasley backhanded under the table kind of way, and that's being exposed by Candace Owens. Like if Candace Owens is to be believable, and the person in the comment, right, I'll reread the comment, is saying that this proves that he didn't take money from Israel. And this is what Candace Owens is going to say about this here.
Charlie would look at me and go, deal with them, get rid of them. Like, just, I don't want to talk to them.
Yeah, tell him to slide the envelope. You take the foreign money, find a way to get it in here, right?
Okay.
So the other country would be the Palestinian people. Who are the other foreign countries that would want to give Turning Point money, right? Like the only thing he's talking about really, in terms of the things that have to do with politics and Trump, is Israel. Like he was going on college campuses to tell college students who were upset about a genocide that our country was funding that they were full of shit. He was gaslighting them in his Charlie Kirk whatever way. And the only country that would be incentivized, the people that would pay somebody to do that, was the country Israel, the country that was paying people to do that before. It doesn't have to come through Israel. It can come through American citizens or people with dual citizenship who are giving money out on behest of Israel. We know that there are a lot of American people, Jewish people, who are, they have either dual citizenship or they're connected to Israel, and then they shill for Israel, right? And that's what she's going to say here.
There is this thing called FARA, and every country, if they're going to influence people, if you're Qatar, if you're Iran, and you want to lobby on behalf of those countries, you have to be registered under FARA, so we know where that money is going into. If you have, literally it stands for foreign agents registering, right? If you have foreign agents in America that are working on your behalf, we would be able to see that. But there's this magic carve out for Israel, right? So when you say, like, was he going to take Israeli money? It's kind of a working around it, right? Do I think that in the Turning Point accounts it would have said Bibi Netanyahu wants this money to go to? Probably not. Do I know for a fact that there are foreign agents working on behalf of Israel that give money to Turning Point? Yes, they do. The question is whether it's Bill Ackman, whether it's Bob Shulman, whether it's a ton of the donors who write big checks and are pressuring him to say stuff. Was a large sum of money offered to Charlie Kirk to take Turning Point to the next level? Not that it wasn't a very high level, to the next level. with the guarantee that he would represent their current perspectives and the things that were going on. And did Charlie Kirk refuse that? I maintain what I said, that happened, and Charlie turned the money down.
But he had taken money before. So this is from her, right? She's saying that Israel has a way to get around, which we know. That's already been established. And there's a lot of people with dual citizenship. There's a lot of people, this Israeli money can go through any number of people. And she is the one who's been saying that Charlie Kirk took money. And I'll get into the Megyn Kelly thing in a moment.
I hope that makes sense. I do want to add on to that I do have concerns, and maybe concerns is not the right word. I have rather hopes that Erica, who is taking on this huge step of being the chairman and the CEO, that she has someone in her corner that she really trusts. And what I mean is that I am not equipped to be the CEO of my little tiny company, okay? And I've realized that how much it involves.
Okay, so there's that. That's the first piece. So this is the episode. I'll show you a little bit more about this too, where Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly, and I got something from Megyn Kelly that's just batshit crazy. Like it's about witches and curses on Charlie Kirk. Like, this went bizarro really quickly, this thing.
They go, okay, what would it be like if all of a sudden I'm starting to see a pattern of behavior similar to what my grandparents saw in 1930s Germany online? How would I behave? So that's like my charitable kind of overcompensation spirit. At the same time, I'm like, but it's not defensible to be dumb, right?
No, it's not defensible to be dumb, and he was under an increasing amount of pressure, not just people telling him, oh, well, I'm upset with who you're inviting, but flat out telling him that he was not allowed to invite certain people to his events. They were threatening to pull out money. Charlie was getting a lot of really nasty text messages. And many.
So they're trying to pull out money, right? That they were threatening to pull, this is talking about Israel, that he wasn't allowed to have Tucker Carlson and Dave Smith at his events. And Israel's were starting to tell him who he could have at events and who he couldn't, right? And so these Israeli shills, right? It's not Israel, the government. He doesn't have a check from, that says this is from the Israeli government. This is from people who, Ted Cruz did this same bullshit. When Ted Cruz was getting hammered by Tucker Carlson, he tried to claim that AIPAC was not a lobbying group for Israel, which fucking, Tucker Carlson's, oh my God, you're going to be, that's how far you're going to go down the fucking, the abyss of lies, this plausible deniability, right?
Many of them pertaining to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, but Tucker Carlson was really the focus when it came to America Fest. How could Charlie allow these debates about Israel to take place? How could he allow Dave Smith, who, by the way, is Jewish, how could how could Charlie allow this other position to meet the stage? Because obviously when people start to hear the debates, what Dave Smith is saying sounds so rational, but it was up to Charlie to not allow those things to happen. And that amount of pressure towards the end, as you see that conversation he had with Megyn was just a month before he lost his life, really, I would say, reached a pinnacle of sorts on the matter of what Tucker Carlson actually said on that stage. Tucker Carlson, while he was on that stage at Turning Point, brought up Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman is a billionaire, obviously. He is also an extremely litigious billionaire. And Bill Ackman was on Charlie about comments that Tucker Carlson had made on that stage. Tucker Carlson specifically asked the question, where does Bill Ackman's money come from? Who is this guy? Actually, who is this guy that has this much influence? And like I said, Bill Ackman was not happy about this. And so I would like to contextualize Bibi. Again, these are things Bibi brought up publicly, which he didn't have to. He didn't have to bring up the letter. He didn't have to bring up the phone call, but he chose to do this less than 24 hours after Charlie Kirk was shot. Personally, Bibi, I would have appreciated if you guys used all of your spyware, you've been spying on us for years, to maybe track down the killer. But I guess this is where you thought it was best to do a little propaganda for Israel would be better than us helping us track down the killer. But anyway, so Bibi Netanyahu and that phone call, what took place was a couple of weeks ago before Charlie lost his life.
Okay, so let's there's a part where she talks about, let me find that part here, where they went to have this meeting in the Hamptons, and this guy Bill Ackman later responded to her, where this offer was made, right, and this pressure. This was like an intervention. So this is the follow-up video to what was being said there. Like, so there's the video that I just showed you. She talked about how Charlie Kirk was invited to the Hamptons and Netanyahu offered him a trip to Israel and all this money and things if he didn't, go a little bit, if he withdrew his criticisms of Israel, right? And so then there was this.
Okay, frantic calls from Seth Dillon. Oh my God. The truth is that Charlie was under immense pressure and he was facing financial threats over his shifting stance on Israel, over who he was hosting, from his podcast to people that were on stage at America Fest, Dave Smith, Tucker Carlson. That is reality, my friends. Again, I want those people to know your money means nothing to me. I already said no to it. That's why I don't care to be in those circles. Make me persona non grata. I know what I did wrong. I looked you in your face and I said no to your money, okay? Don't push me or I will name more names. What happens in the Hamptons is not going to stay in the Hamptons, okay? Bring in our movie poster. I know what you did this summer, okay? Got to add Josh Hammer's face to that poster as well because suddenly everybody's talking. So let's buckle up for some more indisputable facts, okay? People that were at this weekend soiree in which Aaron Wexler sent out some of the invitations to, they're confirming that Charlie was pressed. Now, this was a multi-day weekend, but they're all like, at every layer, Charlie was facing pressure, questions from Seth Dillon. There's no way around that truth that they were not happy with his position, his modified position. I have it on first-person account that on the first day of the retreat, of which there were smaller meetings that took place, and then the retreat itself, Charlie presented. And he explained that he felt that it was wrong that he couldn't publicly criticize Israel. He apparently used an example that if he tweeted, and again, we're riffing here, but something along the lines of Charlie said, if I tweeted, I think that Bibi Netanyahu should resign, that he would then be unfairly attacked. And Seth Dillon then allegedly, pipes up and goes back and forth with him quite aggressively, saying because that would be anti-Semitic. I heard that after Charlie left, Josh Hammer was upset. Josh Hammer, I know for a fact, was a part of the beehive that was swarming him about people that he was having at his conferences. I know for a fact. So if you'd like to dispute that, Josh Hammer, and release your text messages and pretend that you were just, chill and supportive and thumbs up, cool. I welcome you on this platform, okay? You are allowed to...
Okay, so I want to get to the donor building. The donors were pressuring what you said, right? That he was under financial pressure because they were bankrolling him. Like he had a big organization. Like he had, lots more people employed. So they were getting whatever donations from Christian people. But it seems like most of their money, a good portion was coming in from pro-Israeli or donors that were, American citizens who are working on behest of Israel. So remember the comment that I received, the person was saying that Candace Owens' most recent video, she was debunking this idea that he was offered big money by Israel and that Israel had paid him money. And, this is their official story. Of course, they didn't get it directly from the government of Israel. They have lobbyists and they have, shills and these donors, right? And it came from her. Like, that's where all this came from. And she's believable because what he did, he shilled for Israel. I'll come back to that.
Like little lies. I'm being contacted by a lot of people that are telling me at just within 48 hours before Charlie passed away, his top Jewish donors were pulling funding from him, demanding that Charlie take their name off of the building that they had donated to Turning Point.
So his top Jewish donors had donated a whole building. Like, that's the kind of money he was getting, right? That's the kind of shekels he was getting. So these were people who are Jewish, they're not donating him because he's Christian. They're not donating for him because he's pushing Trump. They're not donating to him. Again, it's believable because he shilled for Israel like nobody else, right? Like when he talked about it himself, he shilled for Israel in ways that he said it was bulletproof, which I'll show you in a moment. He said that his support for Israel was fucking bulletproof, which is, a very telling statement now, right? In terms of this whole thing. Now, like, I don't know who he is, and I don't know any of this stuff. Like, and I don't care about it, like, in terms of what other people do, only to the extent of how bad this is. This is a major movement in our country. Trump is going full, he's going full nut job, and even that I, in a sense, don't care about because I know that the system has to come down one way or another. Like, my attitude about this is completely different than most people. I don't watch other truthers. I don't watch people like Candace Owens. I don't care about this thing. It's hard for me to watch. I don't care about details. I don't care about facts. I'm not trying to prove things to people. I'm not trying to, move people in one direction or another. The only thing that I would say is that the best thing in the world, the most important thing, is your connection to divinity within you. And I talk about that throughout my videos, but even then, I'm not pushing that on people. It's something people have to choose. I'm just doing what I have to do, which is to say it. I just have to say those things. And everything else is like window dressing. Like, I don't care about these things, right? Like, the message that I have for people that comes from my relationship with the divinity within me and the system of meditation I've done for the last 32 years or so, 32 plus years, is that there's divinity within everybody, and we have to cultivate that relationship and ask our soul and ask God what we should do in terms of all our decision making. Like, that's something I say consistently. And people can hear that or not, and they can act on that or not, and that has nothing to do with me, right? But in terms of this thing, with Charlie Kirk, he was taking shekels. Building, a whole building worth of shekels, right?
I guess I can figure out who that is. How many people could have donated a building. And then once Charlie was killed, they said, never mind, put it back on the building. Okay? Charlie himself had alluded to a tremendous loss of money coming in, and we'll speak about that more. More people are going to come out with information. This is all inevitable, okay? And I'll also point you in this direction. You guys remember Bibi recently? Okay,
so a tremendous loss of money coming in. So this is her. Her good friend, Charlie Kirk, she used to work there. She, again, it's based in him shilling for Israel, right? Like, he did more shilling for Israel. Going on the college campuses, what was the number one issue on college campuses? Protests against Israel, right? So much so that Trump pulled $2 billion from Harvard. There's lawsuits involved in all this. These schools, these college campus schools where these kids are exercising their American right for free speech, are being told, no, not on this subject, and being pressured by the fucking president of the United States, who also is receiving shekels, right? These are shekels, Charlie Shekels, Charlie Shekels Kirk, because he received the shekels. And so much so that he alluded to a tremendous loss of money, that they were not getting as much money. People who can donate whole fucking buildings, right? People like the modern-day Jeffrey Epsteins, who are working on behalf of Israel as American citizens or dual citizenship, and they're giving money. And when Charlie, the money was flowing when Charlie was 100% positive on Israel. But as soon as he said these other things, well, let's go to his own quote here.
Charlie, what are you doing? Like, what am I doing? I'm sorry. Like, let's just take a step back here. Like, I'm an American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But, like, some of the mess, and you've seen how I've been treated, Megan, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating.
It's
been
almost
so
as if
unfair.
you,
They were coming after you after Turning Point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
Though. No, you're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the 5th time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megan. Not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no, I am a bad person if I do this. And I could go, I mean, you saw it, Megan. It was trending on Twitter, thousands of tweets and text messages. And if I were to be charitable and generous, I will say, the people that are attacking me are in a hyper-paranoid state.
Let's go back to where he said this thing about being bulletproof.
To great, let's just say mockery and scorn at times, because I believe it, right? I believe in the scriptural.
Here, back here.
People who are openly your friends by going nuts in your crackdowns on mild pushback on anything related to Israel. Now you take it.
I'm so glad you brought this up, and I would second that, Megan. I think I have a bulletproof resume showing my defense of Israel.
Bulletproof.
Both on campus, on social media, to great, let's just say mockery and scorn at times, because I believe it, right? I believe in the scriptural land rights given to Israel.
See, the thing about, books and old books, the Old Testament's a piece of shit, right? It's weird because a Louis C.K. bit came up, and I don't think I show it because, I think it would be considered pretty bad. But there's a short video Louis C.K. came up where he holds up the Bible, and he said, this book's about Jesus, and then he says, no, really, it's about, and he holds up the part of it that's the Old Testament. And the part that's the New Testament is very small, comparatively. And I'm not sure, I don't have a Bible, so I don't even know. And then he gets into, he makes fun of, Jew. He may have some like Jewish jokes, but that's why I'm not showing it. But, he's talking about scriptural rights. The Bible is 2,000 years old. And to those people who are Christians that come here, and because I'm going to get into people saying things about me mocking Christians, whatever it is. I'm probably not going to do the Trump UN thing today because, this is probably going to take up the lion's share of this video. And I want to get into the Megyn Kelly thing on witches, which is totally bizarre. But I'm going to read these comments. And I'm not talking about Christianity. I'm talking about the Bible. This is not about Jesus. And so I'll get to these comments in a bit. But the Bible is not authority to everybody else. 2 million people are Christians, and not all of them believe that this is the Word of God. But some of them do. Because your religion tells you this is the Word of God. And the Bible is not very good in terms of spiritual books. Like it would get like 2 stars. And the 2 stars would mostly be for the New Testament. The Old Testament should get no stars. I mean, there's some interesting stories in there. But the way that God is presented is horrific. And Jesus, as I said, he was born Jewish, but he became spiritual. You leave your religion behind. Like I was born Catholic and I became spiritual. So that's what I'm referencing here. And there's so many of us who are born in a religion, and then eventually we come to spirituality. And so there's all that. So let's start here. So this is the beginning. They're talking about how they are being threatened. Megyn Kelly and Charlie Kirk were being threatened by Israel, right?
That when Charlie was denounced as anti-Semitic and, quote, dangerous by the American Jewish Committee, you were too. That was a press release. I don't know if you've ever even seen it. And I just remember when I read that at the time thinking, okay, these are like 2 of the most pro-Israel, basically pro-Israel people like on the internet. I don't understand. So maybe we should have this offline, but let's just have it now. I don't get that. Why would you attack? There are definitely people who hate Israel. who are not anti-Semites. There are people who hate
Right.
Israel who are anti-Semites. There's a whole range. And then there are like people who have like, religious reasons for wanting to blow up Israel. Those are all threats. Why would they be attacking you and Charlie? And honestly, I feel like me. I mean, what is that? Why attack people who are pretty reasonable, who don't want to get into a fight on the topic, who just want to like have their country thrive? Why denounce them as dangerous anti-Semites? What is that?
And let me just underscore for your audience what I had said. I mean, the sum total.
Okay,
of
so
what I
then
had
so
said
to get into that, and there's a lot that's talked about here. We'll get over here about the money.
Not everybody, but like the loudest Israel defenders. And to turn around and call Charlie Kirk an anti-Semite is such a disgusting smear. And you're right, he's young. He was young and wasn't used to being attacked like that by people who supported him and people whose donations are actually really important to the ongoing existence of his organization.
So she's saying right here, so you have Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens, who, she had interviews with Charlie Kirk. They were having conversations about this Israel thing, right? So Charlie Kirk is going to these people. Now, Tucker Carlson was the first person that he was, he went on J.D. Vance's show and criticized Israel in like sort of a subtle way. J.D. Vance, when he hosted Charlie Kirk's show. And the next two shows he hosted. So he was the person that Turning Point turned to host to be on the first show and to host the other two shows, right? And then he's going to be on tour with them. We know Candace Owens worked there, right? So these are all insiders, and Megyn Kelly and Charlie Kirk were, they had these interactions where he was consulting her over the way Israel was turning on him. And she just said that, right? She said right here.
Who supported him and people whose donations are actually really important to the ongoing existence of his organization. And it took a lot for him to say no to them. And it took a lot for him to be honest about the fact that his opinions had evolved. And let's face it.
So he had to say no to them, and they were bankrolling his organization, right? And so, with Israel, well, let me switch over to voiceover here. So with Israel, they're literally bribing Americans with American money, right? I mean, that's how good they are at this. Like, they are the best. They have figured out a way to extract money and through your tax money. And a lot of that tax money goes to supporting things that Israel benefits Israel. Like there's $3 billion we just give to Israel. Just give to them. Your taxpayer dollars, right? And then there's all the military support and all the threats, the threat of American military intervention and all of it, right? And then there's the cultural things, the influence Israel has on cultural things. And then there's the people like Jeffrey Epstein out there and these other guys that were working with Charlie Kirk or handling him. These are handlers that would come in and buy somebody. And so, Charlie Kirk was going to do something that nobody else was going to do. He was going to go to college campuses and defend a genocide. So he's, there was a video clip from Genocide Josh Shapiro. Hopefully I'll get to that. I don't think I can get to, I'm just going to read the comments now because I was going to get to this thing with Megyn Kelly, but it doesn't make much sense to do that because I don't want to bury that. She talks about witches cursing. Well, maybe I'll do, let me do that. I'll finish this part. I'll do the Megyn Kelly thing and then I'll do another voiceover and I'll answer the comments. And so, hopefully that'll be, within the flow of all this stuff. But Israel was able to extract taxpayer dollars and get this guy to go to the campuses, Genocide Josh, right, and support a genocide. And it's fucking horrific. Like what's done to the Palestinian people is a horror show. It is, it is a Holocaust. It is a ethnic cleansing. It's all the things that Israel and Jewish people, some Jewish people, talk when they talk about the Holocaust, right? They're doing to the Palestinians what Hitler did to them. Like that's the level of this thing. And this guy carried out, Charlie Shekels, he carried out this horrific, thing that he was doing. again, he loses all credibility. And, him and his people were saying, well, we don't take foreign money, but that's way worse. Let me go back to the comment, right? It's way worse what he's doing here because the person says, there are a lot of untruths in this video. Charlie Kirk never accepted money from Israel. And so now we know that Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens said he did, said it was very important. Like he was hurting financially when they decided to pull his money, taking names off of buildings. They bought him a fucking building, right? He took his shekels. Now, it didn't come directly from Israel, but that makes it worse. It makes it worse. You don't understand that? It makes it fucking worse. Because if he came out and said, yes, I'm shilling for Israel, I believe in it, I believe in the biblical rights, land rights in the Bible. Like you can get biblical land rights that God, they said God said to them, the promised land from God. God promised the Jewish people Israel. And so that's just their book. I could say God promised me Israel, right? Like anybody can make up shit what God says. We hope to be good conduits. Those of us who work for God, like I hope that I'm a good conduit, that I allow God's words and energy and God's transmission more than anything else because of Sajmark's system. The energy, the Pranhuiti, this God's love to flow through me, especially in these videos where it reaches more people, but just in general, right? When I cook food, that the energy, God's energy goes into the food. When I was made a preceptor, they have this stuff called prasad. And you take, usually it's a sweet, like people have used things like M&Ms in America. India, they have all these sweets that are basically butter and sugar. They're like little cubes. And then and when I was made a preceptor, I bought some of these things. I liked them. And the prasad in India is food that's been infused with divine energy. And it's not as good as a transmission, but it's still a thing there. I mean, I don't know if they do it in the Heartfulness, and so Charji, there's a bunch of prasad. So Charji gives me the final sitting to be made a preceptor. And I had like this profound experience. Like it was, like the energy at the end of the thing was just like, I mean, it was, I was like in another, like I was on another plane of existence. And he goes, come over here, we're going to make prasad, right? And so we kneel in front of this, these sweets, and you pray and you offer the prasad to the divine beings, in this case, Babaji, the second master of the system, and then all these other liberated souls, as they call them, these higher developed souls. And they come in and it's like they're on an etheric level and they sweep through the food and they charge it with spiritual energy. And, I felt this process. I mean, I was still just kind of reeling from the sitting where I was charged. This energy was put into one of my spiritual points. And, it was like real. Like, like you didn't know whether something's like real or not until you experience it. Like, there's these books called The Magic Eye, where they're holograms. And if you relax your eyes, you can see the hologram. I used to get headaches when I did it. It was like it was a weird thing that, whatever, you guys see these things. But if you don't see the picture, you kind of doubt it. Like until you see it, you doubt it, right? And so I had this experience, and I'm like, wow, this is like real. This stuff's really, like I've had the spiritual experience of the thing. Now it's just a memory. But as spiritual people, we hope that we can represent God in some way, right? We can allow the energy to flow through us. And if we channel God in some capacity, some people have conversations with divine beings, they can channel whatever. And then other people, it's just the energy flows through you and God speaks through you. And almost everyone in the world, there's a time where God will speak through them. There's a great scene from the movie The Grand Canyon. And this woman is an older woman, and she's just like somebody dumped a baby on her doorstep. And she's older, and they have money, but she doesn't know what to do with the baby. She's wrestling with this idea whether to keep the baby or not. And she's jogging in the park, and there's this homeless guy, and he's like, fuck you, fuck you. He's walking down the path, like, mumbling to himself and talking to himself and just speaking gibberish. And as he walks by her, he says, "Keep the baby." And then she looks at him, like she turns around and looks at him. So, but it was like God at that moment used her to speak through him. And, in the Sajmark tradition, we used to read some of the literature after some of the literature, the literature is, some of it's practical, some of it's just technical, and some of it's just sublime. But it is, much more mature, and it's for higher level people, like people who are higher level on the spiritual evolutionary path, their spiritual path, than people who would read the Bible. Like the Bible has some stuff in it, but it's very remedial. It's like for beginners. It's for like children. It's like a kindergarten book, right? It's like like a board book. But there was these readings that would be given, and there was always somebody in the group meditation, maybe more people, that felt the reading was specifically for a situation they were going through. It was amazing how it happened like that all the time. We all experienced it, right? And so if you're a godly person, you want to do your best to remove yourself and your ego and give a clean transmission, a clean, be a clean conduit for divinity to flow through you, right? And that's all you can hope for. But even at that, you can't ever claim this is God's words. I feel like God speaks to me all the time, but I would never say it's the word of God because it's coming through me. I got to see if my chickens are making a racket. We have these giddy fowl now, which are really cool. They're supposed to be like watch birds, like they set off the alarm when intruders come in. Yesterday, we have a broody hen that's raising 4 chicks, and she was making a racket. Sometimes chickens make a racket after they lay an egg, but she was making a racket, and I went out, and I could see there was a Cooper's hawk, and I chased it off. It was when it saw me, it flew away, and the guinea fowl were just making a racket, but I looked around, there was no predator in the yard. So hopefully I'll remember and put a clip of it after I do this voiceover. But in terms of allowing God to flow through us, we can never say it's the word of God, right? We can never say our thing is the word of God, right? You can feel God's energy, but you don't own God. God, it doesn't, I would say God owns you, but you can't copyright God. You can't trademark God. You can't say we're the only people that it's our God is better than your God. When people say to me, which God do you worship? Like, do you worship our God, Christian God? It's one God. In terms of these divine beings, they're higher developed souls that work for God. And they are also, you consider them gods in some way. They do God's work, higher developed souls, saints and people that come. But, they're really masters. They've mastered themselves doing God's work. But there's one God. And that God is not something that we can ever claim. Like, we can't claim, like, God has said that we're the chosen people or whatever it is, right? God said this, that, God said that. And so this thing that Charlie Kirk was saying about land rights, scriptural land rights, it's a very low-level thing. It's not true. It's bullshit. And so it shouldn't apply to modern-day politics. It shouldn't apply to genocide. But that's what he was using as an excuse to take his shekels and go to these college campuses and tell these kids that this horror thing that they're connected to. Young people get outraged when they realize the world sucks and that people do horrible things. And you're in college and you're starting to have these adult thoughts. You leave high school, you move out of your parents' home, you go to college, you get a job, whatever, and you start seeing the world in a different way. You start seeing adult shit, right? And you're on your own now, and you're not influenced by your parents. You start making your own decisions, you're having your own points of view, your own political leanings. And these kids are growing up, the kids that are in college right now, and they're seeing this horrific thing that we're participating in. And they're right to call it out. It's a horrible thing. It's a genocide. And the Israel people are 100%, Israel's 100% in the wrong. This has nothing to do with Hamas, what they're doing. Hamas is their asset, so it's even worse. But they don't know that. Sure, fine. They don't know that. Charlie won't say it. If he knew it, he wouldn't say it, right? But, Hamas is not the Palestinian children that are being killed. It has nothing to do with them. It's something that Israel always wanted, that land. They wanted a land grab. And Megyn Kelly and Charlie are saying, you're losing this fucking battle. Wrap it up. And they say this. I mean, Megyn Kelly's saying that, and Charlie's hinting that he might say that. And this is how they treat them, right? This is how the Israeli people, the donors, the money people for them, treat them, right? They're handlers. Or treat Charlie because she's taking the fucking money. But Charlie Kirk and his shills now, these people for this organization, by saying we never took Israeli money, yeah, fuck you. It's worse than saying we took the money. Obviously. Taking it directly from Israel. You know what the money was for, and we see what the money's for, because as soon as Charlie stopped delivering his shilling for them, they cut off his shekels. They threatened his shekels. They offered him more shekels to go back to what he was saying, because they had a good asset in him. But now he's realizing he's taking a beating by all of his contemporaries. Candace Owens is one of his former partners, and Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson. They're like his people, and they're all realizing that this is bullshit. What Israel's doing, they realize that Jeffrey Epstein was Mossad, and his fans are starting to, they're starting to question him, right? If you want to be a spiritual person, you want to be a martyr, you want to be a saint, you want to be seen as whatever the fuck he was trying to make himself into and the organization was trying to make himself into, you can't be on the wrong side of something like this, right? And so he starts changing his tune, not because he had some crisis of conscience, but because his fans were turning on him. And then they cut off his shekels. Charlie Shekels was out shekels, and now he's dead. And, Mossad and Israel, they do shit like that. Like there's lots of evidence they're at least in part responsible for the JFK thing, and he was beefing with them. And so, who knows what their role in this whole thing is, this Operation Charlie Kirk. But let's go back and read this thing here. Let me find the comment here. I lost it. I had it and I lost it. Here it is. There's a lot of untruths in this video. So everything that you just said is not untruth. Charlie Kirk never accepted money from Israel. That has all been confirmed on Candace Owens' episode today. So that's not true. She said that he got it backdoor. She's the one who said he was getting money from Israel. Megyn Kelly said that the Israeli donors pulled the money. We know it. Like it's not coming directly from, there's, not some wire transfer from the government of Israel. Like they didn't get a big check from America and then take some of that money and transfer it to Charlie Kirk, which is again, I mean, look at how they got this thing wired, where they're bribing you with your own taxpayer dollars, right? And so that's what's happening. So this person, you're full of shit, right? And so everything you say after this about me, you're in the wrong 100% because you're full of shit. And I don't care if you watch my videos. I don't care if you whatever. But you're realize you're full of shit. Like you can take this as not that this person's watching this. I don't care. I don't want them here, and I banned them. There's a lot of stuff that you were saying that's not true. Have some respect and human compassion, because I have a lack of compassion because I'm telling you the truth about Charlie Shekels. Like does Charlie Shekels have compassion for the Palestinian people that he was, and the college students who are, he's gaslighting these young impressionable college students that he's, grown-ass man debating in some way and undermining their self-confidence and their ability to see the difference between right and wrong, because he's Charlie Shekels, taking shekels from Israel and being a propagandist for them. Is that compassion? Did you have compassion for those kids and for the Palestinian children that have been built? So shut the fuck up, right? Don't talk about compassion when you're responsible for Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk and these other pieces of shit, and you're allowing them to lie to you and tell you what you want to hear so you can feel good about yourself and your worldview as Donald Trump fucking runs America into the ground. Have some respect and human compassion. He was a good guy. Charlie Shekels, you can't be, your nickname is Charlie Shekels, you're not a good guy. You are sneering at people's misfortune of a man who being murdered and getting clips and making money. Now that's disgusting. Yeah, it's as disgusting as shilling for a foreign government, lying to your Christian following young people as you shill for a foreign government and take your shekels and you promoted genocide and also martial law and all the other bullshit that Trump's doing, like this is, it's not as disgusting. What I was doing was 100% right and true. So it's not disgusting at all. But what you're doing is disgusting, and what he's doing is disgusting. You're disgusting. You're like, you're disgusting people. This is disgusting, right? It's disgusting stuff. Go look at the pictures of Palestine, of Gaza Strip. So here it is. Let's go to this thing.
First, I have a sort of out of left field story to bring to you, and then I want to start with it. I've been wrestling with whether to bring you this story for a few days now. I've been wrestling because I find it so vile and...
Okay, so Jezebel, the place Jezebel is going to pay, well, let's just say it. It's about witches.
Off and odd. I wasn't even sure where to go with it. But I decided that I had to do it because the groups who did this deserve public censure. I learned when I was out in Arizona last week that 2 weeks before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, the far-left website Jezebel declared that it had a mission to cast bad luck or a curse on Charlie.
Holy shit. Are you fucking serious? Right? Like, this is how dumb fucking people are. I mean, her audience. And, like, the world's fucking burning. Trump's running into the ground. And they won't take on Trump. They'll never criticize Trump in a real way. Like, they know he's a part of it. They know what he's doing is bad. They know the censorship's bad. They know the fucking martial law is bad. They know he's connected to Jeffrey Epstein and the Charlie Kirk and all these things. Like, you guys own this thing. Joe Biden was a piece of shit. And I mocked him and the fact that he was senile and the fucking left. I mean, the media pretending this guy was mentally competent. I mean, he was senile in 2019 in the debates. He shouldn't have run for president. The media should have done a number on him. They could have taken him out, but they didn't. They promoted him because of their whatever bullshit Trump stuff they had, whatever their handlers were telling them to do. Like, I don't know if this was in terms of being orchestrated. Of course it was orchestrated. It's part of they selected Joe Biden so that they could get Trump 2.0. All the drama, all the anger and hatred that Biden and Trump persecution is fake persecution, all the stuff with January 6th, all the stuff that Biden did that provoked the right to feel like they had to save the world from the liberals, and all the shit that Biden did, and he did a lot of bad shit. Trump is just going scorched earth on America and decency and honesty and God and all that shit. Trump's a fucking demon, and you guys have pushed for him, people like Megyn Kelly, and now that he's gone full demon, you refuse to acknowledge, just like when Joe Biden was shitting his pants, and the Democrats refused to acknowledge, he was like falling upstairs and downstairs and fucking falling off bikes and tripping on fucking cords because he's shuffling his feet because he had Parkinson's, and so he had that weird gait and just all of it, and he was so obviously had dementia, it was Parkinson's. He also had stage 4 cancer in his prostate, and the liberals and Democrats refused to acknowledge it. And now this has happened with her. These other people are starting to refuse to acknowledge Trump, the evil of Trump and how they fucked up. And it's almost like all the people that went in at hard, and it's the fake assassination attempt. That's where people should have. I mean, Operation Warp Speed, and then the fake assassination attempt. Those were the two things where people should have been like, this guy's fucking not for us, right? But she's going to talk about this, right? Because, you can't be that wrong about somebody. These people who told you how Trump was going to, do whatever he was going to do, that you can't be that wrong. Like, it's so bad that they have to pretend it, like they have to pretend it's not happening.
They wanted to hurt him in some way. They declared, quote, if the far-right misogynist with a bad haircut wants to villainize independent women, Jezebel is more than happy to be the hag of his nightmares. And they went on to the website Etsy, yes, Etsy, to, quote, cast a curse on him. Yes, this is actually a thing. Etsy, the website known for making arts and crafts on demand, will happily cast a hex through its witches, who you can hire on someone if you ask.
I mean, this is why I wanted to wait to the beginning of my next video, because this is just too great. Like, you're seriously covering this and being outraged. Like, you can mock it, right? I have no problem with you mocking it, but don't be outraged by this. So you have this very liberal, disrespectful. Jezebel is some, biblical whore, right? Some whatever she is, some witch, whatever she is in the Bible. You're a Jezebel, right? So, like, I think it means whore. When people call you a Jezebel or a traitor, I don't know. A bad woman, right? And so they name their thing after some Old Testament biblical bullshit. And they're very angry liberal women, like those angry liberal women that everybody hates. There's that image of that woman with the glasses, that liberal woman yelling, right? That kind of woman. These women who are just the angry feminists. And they post, liberal shit. This is supposed to be a comedy piece. And so they get some of their little liberal fucking fringe paper publication money, and they go to Etsy and they hire some Etsy witches to cast a curse on Charlie Kirk. And, like, you got Israel, like, Tucker Carlson and her spent a small amount of time talking about the Patsy shooter of Charlie Kirk. Of course, now we have the hologram and these other, there's all these possibilities. You have this magic bullet, all this stuff, right? All these things. And, this miracle bullet. And, like, just bullshit stories and things that you have to really, you have to just, whatever your bullshit meter, you have to turn your bullshit meter off and just say, well, I trust these guys. I trust the government. I trust Charlie's organization, Turning Point, Megyn Kelly, these people. And so they talk about this Patsy shooter. And they're trying to figure out why he targeted Charlie and not everybody else. And they say it's because Charlie was so pure and so good that this kid targeted him, which is stupid. And then they go on how Israel threatened them, and Israel was turning on Charlie Kirk, and he was stressed out about, going into this thing. And Israel has just murdered maybe 600,000 people in Palestine, unarmed citizens. These are not Hamas agents or whatever, Hamas holes. These are kids and things. Israel doesn't have a problem murdering people, especially when you have this idea of goy, who are like less than livestock, right? They're livestock. Like everyone who's not Jewish is a goy. This is stuff that people talk about, biblical stuff, right? And then they go, but of course Israel had nothing to do with his assassination, right? But you're going to bring up witches, Etsy witches? It's like, just like, it's silly. You're just a silly person.
Them too. The Jezebel crew was delighted to discover, quote, it's not uncommon for the so-called witches on Etsy to channel their energy toward thwarting Republicans. There's even a subreddit devoted to casting nightly hexes on Trump.
Yeah, how's that working out? Right? I mean, if it's working out, Trump is like full Trump with no resistance. He's an old guy who could easily kick the can any moment. He's not, he eats McDonald's food. He's a gross fat fuck, right? He's overweight. He's obese. He's got bad energy. And he could die any moment. He's past, he's getting into the average age of death, right? And he could break down. And any number of bad things could happen to him, like with the Jeffrey Epstein thing. I mean, Charlie Kirk's death is a blessing for Trump because of the Jeffrey Epstein thing, which I've talked about so much. And so it's obviously that these Etsy witches don't really work, right? It's not really working, Megyn. So why are you talking about this? Like, fucking, right?
Jezebel decided Charlie Kirk, who they've repeatedly described as far right, the founder
How dare they?
of the right-wing conspiracy theory factory, Turning Point USA, is, quote, more irritating than most, and asked its audience if they were, quote, interested in punishing Kirk.
No way. Fucking it's so
years of regressive rhetoric with a curse, with a hex on him.
They put a hex, an Etsy witch hex.
After all, they told readers, he's basically a fake news vending machine. The article notably does not list the name of any particular author, but simply uses its company name as the byline. So we don't know exactly which writer or staffer at Jezebel, which has long been a disgusting publication.
They're disgusting. They're so disgusting. You guys don't you have to use that word anymore. Right? Like, this is disgusting, right? That you're this outraged by, there's a this thing is a scam, right? This thing is not a scam. It is, the story of the operation is falling apart. And that may very well be part of it. Like, everything that's in the show is for your benefit. It's not for your benefit, but it's for you. Everything in what I call the show is for you. It's to manipulate people, distract them, whatever it is, right? They get them to go move you in one direction or another. Division, whatever it is. And now we see that there's, this magic bullet and this, is he really dead? Is he not? Is it a thing? Was it a hologram? Was it this? Was it that? It just, it's not, the official story is crumbling. And so you're going to have people who believe the official story because that's all they can do. And they don't have the gravitas to move to something else, or the ability to look past, the bullshit. And so that's that, right? That's just them. And then you have the people who are questioning it. And there's, a variety of levels of people's ability to do that. And with all of that, you're bringing in this, like, what if Israel was responsible and is dead? Or what if he's not dead? Like, what if, like, how much do you know? Like, she's a CIA, more than, likely she's a CIA shill, like Tucker Carlson. And maybe, Candace Owen. They're all like, they're all compromised. None of them call bullshit on the fake Trump assassination attempt and some of these other things, right? Then they all have recently become conspiracy theorists, semi-truthers, because that's the way their audience is going. But, you're going to bring this in because this is going to appeal to Christians. Like, oh my God, these liberal bitches are hiring Etsy witches to curse Charlie Kirk, and he ends up dying,
Came up with the idea, but since they're attributing it to all of them, so will we in terms of our blame.
All of them. You got all blamed.
It was, in fact, the brainchild of one writer, however, because it is written in the first person, a female.
No way.
The writer explains now. Is it ethical to curse a man I've never met? Probably not. But is it unethical to let him keep talking? Yes.
Boom. Yes. I mean, these liberal witches, we should burn them at this fucking stake. We should go drown them. If they drown, they're innocent. And if they float to the surface, they're guilty. So then we burn them. Right? Like, fucking.
Now comes the obligatory ass covering paragraph in the piece.
No way. Is there ass covering?
To stave off any negative publicity for Jezebel. Quote.
Like when Turning Point said they didn't receive any foreign donation, but they really did. They just did it through a fucking sneaky way, which makes it worse. Is that what you're talking about, that kind of thing?
I want to make it clear, I'm not calling on dark forces to cause him harm. I just want him to...
We paid some Etsy witches to curse Charlie Kirk. So let's go back to this.
harm. I just want him to wake up every morning with an inexplicable zit. I want his podcast microphone to malfunction every time he hits record. I want his blue blazers to suddenly all be one size too small. I want one of his socks to always be sliding down his foot. I want his thumb to grow too big to tweet. To ruin his day with the collective feminist power of the Etsy coven would be my life's greatest joy.
So that's not even those are unrealistic expectations of your curse. And so
even in her ass covering, she was asking for Charlie to be rendered less attractive, to not be able to use his microphone and silence his voice, to have discomfort foisted upon him.
Okay, you're just a silly piece of shit. I mean, you're a silly piece of shit, Megan Gillies. I'm going to take my dogs for a walk, then I'll come and do my voiceover. Okay. I want to say something about curses, then I have these comments to read. So, in the Mahabharata, there are all these really shitty curses. Like the whole Mahabharata story wouldn't, this family battle between these rival king cousins, right? These kings who are also cousins, royal cousins. The whole story doesn't happen without a series of curses. There's probably like 10 prominent curses. Then they had all these higher developed saints who were giving very arbitrary curses. A lot of them were seemingly unfair. They were misunderstandings and things that I'm not going to get into, but you're like, well, that seems kind of, it's over the top for spiritual people to do these curses. Now, these were higher developed souls that were close to God, but one of the masters of Seismark system said that a curse will only work if a person has that in their plan, in their samskaric plan. Like if you have suicide in your samskaric plan, then it can happen. If somebody tried to curse you to commit suicide, it would only be if you were going to experience that at some point in your destiny, in your future, right? That's part of your plan, either in this life or a future life. And so a curse just pulls something forward. But if you don't have that, somebody can't curse you with it, right? But these Etsy witches, you have to be close to God. And people just aren't. The way we are now, people are so... these were ancient times where people lived hundreds to thousands of years and meditated for, months at a time. And they had a different sort of level of connection to God. And it's still petty and immature. And, a curse isn't a good thing. It's not a good thing for you to do. It's a hateful thing. And it's usually, unless it's some saint comes across somebody doing something wrong and objectively pulls forward that person's demise, like that's something different if they're ordered by God, right? And that's what something like this is for. But these Etsy witches and this Jezebel, they're not, it's just silly stuff. And it just happens that they wrote this goofy, non-funny piece about Etsy witches, and then he ends up dying. But really, Megan, are you more concerned about that or Israel's involvement or the possibility of this being some hologram hoax or any number of things that Trump is using this for, or what's happening with this organization, Turning Point, now that it's, got a martyr on their, as an asset? It's all so fucked, right? But this speaks to the stupidity of the right wings, the Trumpers and the Christians who are, pushing this agenda. The Charlie Kirks, Charlie Shekels, these are not good people, right? And, plausible deniability that the Turning Point organization was putting out there. Well, we never took any foreign money, but yeah, pro-Israeli lobbyists were buying you buildings. Like, just say that, right? And when Charlie started to change his tune, they, cut off his funding. They threatened him. They tried to bribe him, and now he's dead. So, what's up, right? Like, so is that plausible deniability still working for you? Like, it's just there for people to see. And again, I don't know this. It's coming from your people. It's coming from Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly and Charlie himself, right? So it's not the liberals. It's not Jezebel. As bad as the liberal media sucks, as bad as Joe Biden sucks, you guys own this Trump shit, and it's bad. If you can't see it, well, that's why I call you dumb fucks, right? Willfully stupid dumb fucks. And so, let me see if I can find this comment here. So I have a bunch of comments I saved yesterday, and I just scrolled through. This comment came in on my phone like last night. And this is everything that I'm talking about by fake Christians and all this shit, right? Inauthentic and insincere. So I had to scroll through the comments to find it because it was on my phone last night. Sometimes YouTube will send me a notification of a comment. I've gotten, I would say, let's see how many comments on this one video. I don't have to guesstimate. I can just look it up here. Let me see. So there's 838 comments. And I don't know how many of those I've already deleted. And if they're counting those comments, I ban people or whatever. But those, I would say 400 of those comments or 300, maybe even 250. And there's a bunch of new ones or about how it means I love you in sign language. Like it's just, I mean, it's a bombardment of stupidity, right? Unwanted stupidity. So here is let me get to the comment again. So somebody wrote afterwards, I think, and he mentioned this woman's name who wrote the comment. And so the commenter writes, the replier writes, I think Boop wants a shout out on your next video, Paul. And I believe she does. When I don't think she knows she's getting one. I can't watch your videos anymore. So this is a person who has never commented. There's a thumbnail that I don't recognize and a username I don't recognize. And there's these two little things, a purple thing and a red thing, for people who watch a lot of videos or people who comment a lot of videos. And this person has neither. And so that's a lie, right? Like to make it sound like he's a regular user, like a regular viewer. I can't watch, and this comment would indicate that they, don't watch my videos. I can't watch of your videos anymore. I am independent and don't vote. With that being said, I hear the hate you have. I don't have any hate. Like, this is not coming from a place of hate. And you can experience it or not. Like, you could say my stuff is rough. Sometimes it can be mean or whatever. Insulting, whatever it is. Disrespectful. But it doesn't come from a place of hate. Maybe irritation, maybe some slight anger occasionally. But I, mostly don't care about what I have to say here. Like, I don't care about my own beliefs, and I don't care about yours, and this is what I see, right? I hear the hate you have. You say you are spiritual. I never said I was spiritual. I say I do a spiritual practice. I don't call myself spiritual Paul, right? There were these guys, there were two gay dudes that were Christian folk singers that used to come to the first treatment center I worked in. And these kids were brutal. Like, these treatment center kids are just brutal. And they were triggered by gay dudes. And there was this guy, his name was Spiritual Bob. And Spiritual Bob would preach and sing. So this was a Catholic organization that ran a treatment center for sex offenders, right? It was part of a church, a Catholic church. And this guy, Spiritual Bob, would show up, and his little buddy, remind me of the Righteous Gemstones, where there's that gay couple, and there's the former devil-worshipping guy who dotes all over one of the brothers. They become a gay couple at the end of this show, but in the first season, there's this guy with glasses and playing the guitar, and he's, I forget what his name is, and he would look at Bob like Bob was the greatest thing ever. Like, fucking, he was in love with, he was smitten by Bob. And he would play the guitar. And Bob was really kind of effeminate. And the kids would call him the F word, like, to his face, like, and they would, like, just go off, get this boop out of here. The derogatory term for, this guy's supposed to be a Christian, right? And so, but this guy's name was Spiritual Bob. Like, that's what, I'm Spiritual Bob, right? I never said I'm spiritual Paul. I don't say I'm spiritual. I do a spiritual practice, and I am on a spiritual path, right? Like, it's arrogant to say I'm spiritual because I don't even know what that means, right? I wouldn't say that to people. I would say I am on a spiritual path, which I am. Like, I participate in my spiritual evolution. I meditate. I connect with my soul. This is stuff that I do, right? But, like, this is already lies because I can't watch of your videos anymore. That's a lie. I'm independent and don't vote. Well, then why are you commenting? With that being said, I hear the hate you have. You say you are spiritual, but the pain of your daughter's suicide is apparent. Now, so this person watched one video, and I talked about my daughter's suicide, and they decided to bring this up, which is a real dick move, right? This is a real dick move. Like, you don't know me, and you don't know the pain of your daughter's suicide is apparent. Like that. You think I wasn't an asshole before that? Like, you could call me an asshole, and that would, there's a comment I got a long time ago. It started with, "Hey, asshole," right? which, I chuckled at, but you could say, any number of things that I'm arrogant or aloof or these various things, right? There's legitimate things you could say about my personality. I have flaws. But for you to like come in and immediately think that me being, whatever your problem with me is, that it started, like I was fine, I was a great guy, and whatever thing that you're thinking about, like your problem with me is right now, has to do with my daughter's suicide, like you know nothing about it, right? And it's a dick move to bring that up. You say you are spiritual, but the pain of your daughter's suicide is apparent. I am sorry that that happened. Are you? It doesn't sound like you're sorry that it happened. It sounds like you're trying to use it as a weapon against me. I'm sorry that that happened, and I will pray for your healing and that you have an encounter with the Holy Spirit. This is the kind of bullshit that Christians do all the time when they say they're going to pray for you, right? And, sometimes it can be okay. It can give people solace, right? But you could have just prayed. You didn't have to write this comment. If your prayer worked, if this woman really believed in her prayer, she wouldn't have to say, I'll pray for you. Because the prayer would just work. I believe in prayer. I pray every night, pretty much every night at 9 p.m. for everyone to come to spirituality. And it's really effective, the 9 p.m. prayer, the universal prayer. I pray all my brothers and sisters are filled with love and devotion, and real faith is growing stronger in them. So that's a prayer I do for everyone in the world. And then I pray for people. I could do it a lot more. And I know it's effective when I do it, right? So, but I don't talk about it. And I don't, I could say to people, if somebody writes to me and they're upset and they ask me to pray for them, I might say, yeah, you're in my prayers, whatever it is, right? And so, but that's because they're asking for it and it gives them some comfort. But I don't need to say it because I know it works. If I do it, I know it works, but it doesn't mean it works in the way that you want it. It doesn't mean if you pray for something, you're going to get it, because that's the wrong way to pray for people. It's the wrong way to pray to God. The way to pray to God is that God's will be done and that people can accept God's will. And so, it's a dick move to bring up my daughter's suicide and to blame me being an asshole on that. And then bringing in that you're praying for me like you're fucking so much better, and this is some condescending Christian bullshit when your prayers suck because you're doing them in I'm going to pray for you in some fucking performative way in your bullshit comment, right? Like you're bringing God into this. So this is, let me read that again. You say you are spiritual, but the pain of your daughter's suicide is apparent. I am sorry that happened to you, and I pray for your healing and you encounter the Holy Spirit. Jesus can give you the healing, not your higher self. This has nothing to do with your political stance, as I don't believe that we can stop this shit show. Well, then what does it have to do with, right? Why are you triggered in writing this comment? Like it's a comment to undermine my whole thing, my whole, my whatever stuff I say about connecting to the divinity within you. One of the fundamental parts about this channel, what people would say I'm black-pilled, is I say there's no political solution or no solution at all to turn a demonic system around. And this woman agrees with that. But she decided to write this comment because she feels like there's so much hate inside of me. And so, my daughter's suicide has nothing to do with the miracle bullet of Charlie Shekels Kirk and Donald elitist Trump. It has nothing to do with that. And Donald Trump is an elitist. And Charlie Kirk took shekels, albeit not directly from Israel, as that one black and white dumb fuck mentioned, but even worse through plausible deniability bullshit fucking third-party people who are shills and lobbyists for Israel. And so all that stuff is true. And the stuff that I cover, I dive into this cesspit every day. And I'm relatively upbeat because of it, right? I mean, not because of it, despite it. And there's a reason, because my meditation, and I'm kind of detached from it, and I've accepted that, this is part of the predictions and prophecies and the whispers of the brighter world and these other things, right? It's a higher level. Not only is it higher level, but it's still fresh. The masters of the Sajmark system. Chargy died in 2014. And Dodgy, this clown who runs it now, was given the work, the work that was done on him. So on a spiritual level, that still exists. It's still in the ether. But, this is like right after Jesus died. The Christianity was a lot better then than it is now. That people who were alive still knew Jesus. So this time period where there is a higher developed soul that comes in and gives some teaching and, brings some, whatever it is to it. And, by the time it gets to where it is now, it's just a dumb fuckathon. There were higher developed souls who surrounded Jesus. There were saints. There were people who are involved in these spiritual movements. And they come in and incarnate all together. And some of them might be enemies of Jesus. Some of them might be, disciples, Krishna, any of these people, right? They're higher developed souls that come down for a specific purpose to elevate humanity. And when it's happening, it's the best time. The best time to be a Christian was when Jesus was alive. And then shortly thereafter. And it started to get worse, like the law of diminishing return. Every year, every moment, every second after Jesus died, Christianity started to go in the wrong direction. To where it is now, where it's just a bunch of dumb fucks. Occasionally you get good Christians who are spiritual people. I mean, there are great Christians. There are nice people who are good, good God worshiping devotional Christians who are sincere. And I'm not, undermining those people. Those people are great. I'm never talking about those people. I'm never talking about any good, even good atheists. There's just good people out there. There are people who have good tendencies and they have whatever belief system, but they're the highest people in that belief system, in that demographic, right? I'm never talking about the saints and the spiritual people that do good works. I'm talking about the evil people that make up about 10% of the population and the 80% of people that make up the dumb fucks. The 10% of good people, of spiritual people, unless they've been compromised, unless they're going along with the dumb fuckery. I mean, I'm not saying, you can't fight it. I'm not saying you should go out and get fucking crucified. I don't believe in that shit. I don't think you should go get martyred. I don't, that's not what that's not part of the teachings of what I do. I didn't care if truthers or other people didn't speak up about Trump's fake assassination attempt, or they don't speak up about Charlie Kirk stuff, or the thing with Trump. I mean, it's weak and I don't respect that. But it's when you shill for it, right? When you shill for evil and you pretend to be good. That's what I'm talking about. And so it isn't anything to do with my daughter's suicide that I have any sort of an attitude now. Whatever attitude that I have, it comes 100% from not just dumb fuck Christians, but dumb fuck heartfulness people. People even more so them, because I know them. They were people who, in many ways, some of them I looked up to. Some of them were better at my thing than I was, and they completely failed when this guy Dodgy went full cult. Just like, these Christians are failing on Trump and Charlie Kirk and these Republicans and these dumb fucks. And you guys have the power right now. The power has been given to Trump by the people I call the controllers. They're letting him just go fucking take a sledgehammer to everything that America is. And, in one way he's doing God's work because the system needs to come down, and he's the guy that's the catalyst for its inevitable demise. But it's just a little bit hard to see how bad people suck. That would be my one thing. I'm not depressed about it, but it isn't good. I don't feel great about it. And not like I'm so much better than people. Like it's not even something like that. I just can't believe what people are capable of going along with, and just the way people are behaving on the internet, and just the fucking stupidity. Like I said, I combed through 200 plus comments about how the devil's horns. I'm going to read some of those things now, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But these comments. Let me read her comment again, because this is, where the fuck is it? Well, that's not good. Oh, it's over here. It's on here it is. So what's the purpose of this one? You always have to look at what the motivation of the commenter is. You're about to leave a comment. Are you butthurt? Are you angry? Are you trying to lash out? Are you trying to undermine my self-confidence? Are you trying to express gratitude for my videos because you feel like my videos are helping you and you want me to continue? What's your intention behind the comment? Because it's something that when I get so many comments, and some days more than other, like 800 comments in this one video. That's a lot more. I usually get 200, and that's more than enough. And so, this video's got 13,000 views, which is great, but a lot of them are just clicking on the title and not watching the video. And if they watch it, they don't understand it. I'll talk about that in a second. But what's this woman's intention, right? I can't watch of your videos anymore. Okay, good. Get the fuck out of here. You didn't have to say that, because I didn't even know who you were. You didn't even know you were watching my videos. Like, I have no participation in our relationship. I've put out videos, and you happen to stumble on them, and you like them or don't like them, never commented, never acknowledged anything. I never seen you before, right? I can't watch your videos anymore. So what? Like, you want to tell me I'm a piece of shit? Is that what it is? Right? You're going to tell me what? Oh, so why am I a piece of shit? Right? Are you going to be sincere about it? Why do you feel like you need to tell me I'm a piece of shit? Right? Why do you need to do that? Like, what is this for? Right? You know, if I make fun of Alec Baldwin and I tell everyone how Alec Baldwin's a piece of shit, I'm not doing it for Alec Baldwin. I'm doing it because it represents one of the core principles of my channel, that fame and fortune and success are not what people think they are. In fact, they're the opposite. They're not a legitimate goal. That's one of the things I cover here, that all these successful, powerful people are miserable pieces of shit. And so that's not a legitimate goal, because the people, how many celebrities or rich, powerful people are happy and well-adjusted and spiritual and generous and good people? I mean, it's the smallest percentage. The people I call the elite, the smallest percentage of good people exist in the elite community. And they're not really that good, right? Like, if they have a lot of money, they could be giving it to other people. I mean, like, the fact that they're not complete and utter asshole, demonic piece of shit, you're like, oh, that guy's pretty nice for an elite, like that kind of thing. And so what's your motivation, right? You're about to tell me I'm a piece of shit. I can't watch any of your videos anymore. I'm independent and don't vote. Okay. Why do I need to know that information? Is that so you're more legitimate? So I'm not thinking that you're a Trumper. You're obviously a Christian, because you're going to tell me how my thing's bullshit and your thing's great. It's one of the hallmarks of being a shitty Christian, is that you constantly telling other people, oh, I'm doing the right thing and my thing's great and your thing sucks, when you know nothing about anything else and your thing sucks and it's remedial and you're indoctrinated to something where you don't know what I do. You don't have any idea what I do. And given the fact that you can't watch my videos and understand what I'm saying, then there's no way that you can criticize what I'm doing. You would have to go try what I'm doing and do it, and then compare it to what you used to do or what you do in Christianity, and then you could give your critique. But that still would be it, because you'd have to do what I'm doing and feel what I feel in doing it, right? Like, not everyone's going to have the good experiences that I've had in Sajmarg meditation, just like not everybody who's going to have a good experience with Christianity. But what I'm talking about is the teachings and the work that's been produced by Christianity, and it's mostly bad shit. You've overseen the most materialistic time in human history, where people have moved away from God and moved to materialism. You've had the dominant religion in the countries that are most materialistic. Your Christianity has failed epically. I'm independent and I don't vote. With that being said, I hear the hate you have. Is it the hate, or is I'm just an asshole? Because I don't feel any hate in my system. Like, I don't hate you. Like, I don't hate people. I don't hate like Trump was saying he hates. Like, he hates his opponents. I don't feel hate. I don't want to feel hate. I don't want hate in my system. It's part of the Sajmarg system. There's a way to get rid of hate in Sajmarg. Is there a way to get rid of hate in Christianity? Not the confession. You don't have a method. There's no method in Christianity other than accepting Lord Jesus as your Lord and Savior. That's your method. That's not a method. Like, there's prayer and these other bullshit things you do. But there's no method to get rid of these things other than, faking it, pretending you don't have it, right? I feel, you say you're spiritual, but the pain of your daughter's suicide as a parent, like, why would you bring that up? What's your motivation for bringing that up? Like, you're thinking that I'm going to look at your comment and go, oh my God, this woman cracked the code. She's seeing right through me. I got so much hate in my system, and it all stems from my daughter's suicide. Like, I was just such a gem. I was such a pleasant person to be around. But before that fucking tragedy happened, right, or whatever it was, just a horrible thing, right? But it's just, it wasn't like I was such a great guy and I came from such a great family and such a nice person that, people like, oh, that he was so great. Then his daughter committed suicide and he turned into a complete asshole. No, I mean, I was an asshole beforehand, right? I'm, I'm sorry that happened. I mean, I say obnoxious things and hurtful things. I've done that my whole life. And, that's, if you're reacting to that and you're butthurt, I'm not saying I don't do that. So you don't have to tell me that, like, I say things that upset you. You don't think I know I say things that upset people? Some of it is just stuff that's coming from God. And some of it's because, I'm just over humanity. Like, I just don't, respect people. And, just bare minimum. There's great people. I'm not saying there isn't. But human beings are just not doing well right now. I think everybody agrees with that. So, like, what's the problem with what I'm saying? They're just words, and they only hurt because they're true, right? Like what I say is, it's no matter how, if an asshole says something to you, again, I'm not saying it to you. I'm saying in a video that you can hit the stop button and never come back, right? I turn shit off all the time. I start watching TV shows and movies and things. I watch 5 minutes and I say, this sucks, and I turn it off. Same thing with videos. Like, if I don't like something, I just turn it off, right? And so, like, I had to listen to Candace Owen because someone left a stupid comment. I didn't want to listen to her, but I went through it, right? I got the information I needed and I got out, right? Like, you have the ability to turn this off. I'm not coming to your house and berating you. I don't even know what the fuck you are, and I don't want a relationship, right? I'm sorry this happened. I'll pray for your healing and that you have an encounter with the Holy Spirit. Well, isn't that fucking nice and Christian of you, right? What a great person you are. Jesus can give you the healing, not your higher self. So you're telling me I'm full of shit, my thing is bullshit, right? But you have no idea what I do. You have no idea what it's done for me. And so you could have just prayed. Like, if you saw something in me that you thought needed to be prayed for, you could have just prayed. You didn't have to write a dickish comment. And this is very typical for Christians. This has nothing to do with your political stance, as I don't believe that we can stop this shit show. Well, what does it have to do with? You don't like my personality and you don't like what I'm saying. So turn the video off. I mean, just go our separate ways. Because I'm all for that, right? So what's, your motivation? So these are some of the comments, and I'm going to have more to deal with today. It means love in capital letters. I love you in capital letters. Research it. I'm going to go through all the ones and then comment on that. They're not in order. First of all, that's not the devil's horns hand sign. That's a hand sign that means rock and roll, and you're just a gaslighter. She is not faking. So this person, their ability to see through Erica Kirk's, first she's saying it's rock and roll. So you think that Erica Kirk put her hand up into the heavens and said rock and roll to Charlie Kirk, right? Is that what your point of view is? And you think she wasn't faking, that she was 100% sincere and that wasn't performative? Like, that's your ability to see shit, right? Like, how are you on my channel? That is the I love you side. You do the research. The thumb over the 2 fingers is the devil sign. And I addressed this in the video. She is being set up for the presidential election 2028. Also, the sparklers are sets of 3 times 6. So the person's saying that there's 3 sets of 6 sparklers. She's not being set up for the presidency. She has 0 chance of being president because, like, there are a lot of people that are not going to like what she is. She has a small audience. She has a small group of people. And I'm sure even those people behind closed doors are like, boy, that was fucking crazy. That was crazy what she did. I'm talking about Erica Kirk. Somebody else wrote that the sparklers said Charlie Kirk likes sparklers. And that's why they use sparklers. And I'm like, well, who doesn't like sparklers? Like, I'm not against sparklers. Not at a fucking memorial service. Like, all those things. Wow, dude, you're disgusting. You can ignore this interaction or make it from the chat as you see fit. Good for you. This is, again, Erica Kirk, unconvicted forgives unconvicted Patsy and throws up the devil's horns. These are almost all from that. Wow, dude, you're disgusting. You can ignore this interaction or make it from the chat as you see fit. Good for you. Could this woman have ever lived up to your high expectations in the moment? Yeah, she could have. Because I don't have high expectations for somebody who's just lost their husband. I don't have high expectations, but just be fucking real. Go grieve and go do it in private. Like, I don't have any expectations from you. I don't expect you to do anything but just curl up in the fetal position and cry and mourn his death and deal with your kids and whatever. I mean, that's what loved ones are around. Her family isn't near her. His family, where are they, right? And she's had to give 2 major speeches, very performative, very stressful. And she, I mean, like it's a big moment where millions of people are watching. Tens of millions of people were watching that piece of shit fucking show they had that was full of all kinds of bullshit. I have no expectations for her other than just, she could go in a catatonic state and just, let herself go for fucking 4 months after her husband was shot in the neck right in front of her. Like there's nothing that I expect from a woman who's just lost her husband. And I don't expect her to go up and give a fucking fake ass speech and fake like she's crying and do this weird shit, give Trump that weird hug and all the fucking, it's just so fucking weird. I mean, like that was, it's not that I had high expectations for her. Whatever she did there was just not sincere. Could this woman ever lived up to your high expectations in this moment? No, you instead choose to ridicule and mock. Indeed, I respect your Hindu faith. Who are you talking to? I'm not Hindu. Like, I meditate from an Indian tradition that has Hindu teachings as, things that are in it, but that are not a part of it, right? It's something that's not a religion. So to say, I respect your Hindu faith working towards a greater good on earth, you, however, become a stain upon your own beliefs. Chuckle if you must. Congrats on your newfound viewership. Though, keep it up. It's working for you. Let's see what happens. E. Finn, your response is neither required nor solicited. So you wanted to drop this fucking bombshell on my channel and then fucking say that you don't want me to respond? I don't expect you to come back after some well-written comment like that, and so you're so outraged. But you open this can of words with your stupidity. And so it's finished. This is finished. I said my piece. I told you were a piece of shit. So I don't, no response is necessary. We'll just leave it as that with me getting the last word. We'll just leave it like that. And if you said things that were true and, were quality, you wouldn't get a response. Like there's things you could say about me that are legitimate criticisms, but I say, I'm not interested in hearing them. Like this isn't something where I want to critique. Are you seriously that stupid? That's I love you in American Sign Language. ASL, ASL. And then someone wrote under there, you are among the millions deceived. Why didn't anyone, even CK's pastor, prompt the thousands that were to offer prayers, a prayer for this country? Oh, they said they didn't make her pray. I'll get to the devil's horns thing in a minute. I want to respond to that. If you really think she's saying, I love you, LOL, wake up, it's all a show. I'm not sure why I have this comment. Maybe this one. Totally Hollywood stage production from the beginning to the end. Charlie Kirk is probably preparing for the next CIA role. I have these 2 comments and maybe I took a photograph. I didn't want to. But anyways, that's why. So I was halfway through this thing. And I thought I was all the way through it because I didn't know I got 900 comments. It was probably 700 last night. I got another 200 today. And so that sucks because a lot of them are bullshit comments. And I was like, oh my God, I must be getting to the end of this. And this one was from 16 hours ago. And so I'm like, well, when did I answer comments? Probably, probably less than 24 hours ago, I looked through the comments. So I thought I was getting to the end. And I'm like, you people really think she's saying I love you? LOL, wake up, it's all a show. And I realized, oh my God, there's more? How many more are there? I couldn't believe there's that many as it was, right? So let me get through these last ones, and there's more in there now. Bro, this reaction to the memorial is getting pretty gross itself. Let me. I gotta fix this, bro. This reaction to the memorial is pretty gross itself. I don't know if her tears are fake or not. Well, she didn't have tears, and you know why? Because there's 50 to 100 comments of people going, they were not real. There's no tears, right? Fake or not. But who the fuck are you to say? I don't know. Like, I have a person with an opinion. But it was fake. Like, if you can't tell if somebody's being performative or somebody's being sincere, then what good are you? I mean, in terms of anything. Like, you're interpreting people's reactions, right? When you interact with people, and people are liars, and people lie to themselves. People often don't even know they're lying, right? And so you go into life, and you gotta determine what a person's motivation is. Like, if you're evaluating somebody, their words or their actions, you have to put more emphasis on their actions. But even then, there are people who are really good inside, but they act horrible on the outside. Like, they have really soft hearts. That's one of the great teachings of the Sajmark system, that there are people who are really soft and sweet on the outside, and they have really hard hearts. And you can see her hard heart, like, she gets really intense. There's a hardness in her. She's saying the words, "I forgive you," but, a person with a soft heart would have to go through some grieving first. She had to forgive by this memorial service, right? Like, she had a timeline on her forgiveness. It had to come out during this thing. Like, if she was going to forgive, and, I'm sure this was talked about and thought about, this is manipulative and contrived. She had 10 days to forgive, right? Because that's, this is the big show. Like, she can't forgive on her own terms and her own private, forgiveness is something internal. And I don't give a shit if she forgives, not this Patsy, but the real people who did this. But she obviously forgives the real people who did this because she's not calling bullshit on whatever's going on here, and she's a part of it. We don't know if her husband's still alive. We don't know if that's even really her husband. We don't even know if those are her kids. We don't know anything about any of this stuff is true. It's all in doubt, right? But we do know that it was very performative, insincere. And if you can't see that, then why are you on my channel? Like, you got a remedial ability to understand shit. Like, so, yeah, you can comment on my thing. Like, this person says, I don't know if her tears are fake or not, but who the fuck are you to say? Well, who the fuck are you to comment to me, right? And I'm not saying that directly to her. I didn't go up to her, hey, your tears are fake. I'm not saying anything like that. Like, this is for my viewers and viewers who watch this channel. It's not for her and her fans and her people. You guys might stumble in here and you're dumb fucker, as you bang into shit around the internet, like mindlessly bang into shit with your dumb fuckery, when you're coming out of dumb fuckistan. The lady just lost her husband, and 2 little kids are barely out of diapers, just lost their dad. Yeah, go grieve somewhere. Go deal with that. Go, you should be in a state of shock. This is if you were at this event and you saw somebody shot in the throat, if you were at the fucking mall or, wherever people go nowadays, and you watch somebody get a shot in the throat, like you just saw somebody pull up on somebody and shoot them in the throat and blood gushed out of their neck, you would be in a state of shock. Like, it would be, like, hard to process. You might even have to go get, like, counseling or something. Or what we do in Sajmark, the cleaning. Like, I'd come home and do a sitting and clean off this, like, it's an intense impression. And this was her husband at one of these events with her kids there. Like, she didn't, and then she immediately started to stage shit. Like, wearing a microphone when her and Usha were walking around and being followed around with a camera and getting all these photo opportunities with advances and at her husband's coffin and, all the weird shit she did, and immediately put in a podium and come out and give a fucking talk 3 days after he died, which was totally unnecessary, right? But they want to capitalize on the moment. They want to get their martyr money. She want to get her martyr money right when it fucking mattered, right? And are you just yucking it up like something is funny? Way grosser than having sparklers at a memorial. Yeah, you admit that that was a fucked up thing on the memorial. Pretty heartless and disgusting. A lot of people's telling me I'm disgusting today. I'm pretty disgusting compared to these wonderful Christians. I get the skepticism. No, you don't. People are liars. Everyone knows people lie, and the people who are in this show lie and act all the time. She is an actress and a model. She's a former beauty contestant, Miss Arizona, and she is a performing person. She had her own blog, her own, her own whatever it was. She does her own Instagram bullshit, which is it's all fake and performative. No pictures of her being pregnant, by the way. And my wife just sent me something. I'll look into it tomorrow. That she might have adopted some Lithuanian kid who seems to have disappeared. I get the skepticism, but don't be so jaded that you lose your humanity. Well, how can a disgusting person like me have any humanity? The person started this out with bro. That was wonderful. And so you are a complete asshole to even degrade her and her time of grieving. Don't put that fucking I don't mind being called an asshole, but don't put that fucking manipulative grieving shit on me, right? So this is here. There's a lot of untruths. I already read that one. And here's the last one that I have. And there's more coming. I don't know. I'll look through those. Seriously, seems as though Paul puts all his energy into getting people not to believe in Jesus. He will make funny 2-hour video, and then they can't help himself. He'll spend the last half hour shitting on Christianity. Not Muslims, Hindus, not Jews, but laser focused on shitting on Christians. He's obviously possessed. Nobody could be that focused on this topic, considering everything else bores him to death. But not that topic of Christianity being so BS. It's literally his favorite thing in life. And COVID's never existed, Paul. COVID's. Just thought you... It's called the nocebo effect. You thought yourself sick, but you're a guru of Indian mysticism, so you already knew that. That's a good one. They brought in the COVID thing, right? This is a person I labeled what did I call them? A flubie. The QBs were QAnon people who are newbies, young souls, first time in life, first time being a human being, as in terms of their incarnations, like newbies to the truth community. There was people calling them Q-tards, but newbies, flubies and QBs. And so the flubies were people who are saying it was a flu. And I might have believed that was possible, except I got really bad COVID. But he's saying that it was a psychological nocebo effect. And he's throwing that in after saying I'm just obsessed with shitting on Christians. But I'm not. It's not shitting on, he said, getting people not to believe in Jesus. But I said myself I had a dream with Jesus in it, and that I believed it was Jesus. And I said to Jesus, it's okay if I talk about Christianity on my channel, to these Christians. And he said to me, why do you think I'm sending them to you? So me saying this stuff, and this, unless I'm lying about that, why would I? And you can go back and find the video I first talked about this. I don't know where it is. I think it's in the Journey series. I don't know if anybody knows. But I had this dream, and I talked about it, like right when it happened. And I think it was back in 2017 or 8, I don't even know. But before, I felt uncomfortable saying things about Christianity that I know were bullshit. That were against what Jesus' teachings and what Jesus wanted. I talk about this with all religions, but there's no, you want me to bash Muslims? Like, why would that? They're not in power here, or any of the other religions. And so, the stuff I've said about, so there is the current master, the official master of what's called Saj Marg, what I do in terms of meditation. So there are 3 masters. There was Lalaji, Babaji, and Charji. And, Ramchandra, and Parthasarthi Rajagopalachari. And the 4th master was named Kamlesh Patel, who I had a very high opinion of. I had very good interactions. We had some good interactions. And I saw him as a very good devotional person. And I was happy that he was successor of the system. And I had some revelations about his spiritual evolution. Like I was there in India while he was being made into the master. And I witnessed his growth. I could see it. I could read his condition. You know, it was something I could see. I could see him transforming. I could feel his energy transforming. I used to live, he had a flat outside the ashram. And so I'd walk by his flat and we'd see each other. We'd talk, maybe, say hi, whatever it was. We were on friendly terms. I liked the guy. And I was happy for him, not for him, for us, that we had somebody to be the successor to Charji, and I felt like he would do great work. And he was the official person. Charji, did the spiritual work on him, transmitted to him, whatever he gave to him. And he was endorsed in our Whispers of the Brighter World messages, right? And I was really happy that we would have a continued lineage of mastery in the system. Like, the essence of the original essence of the Sajmark system, the first master of the system being passed through a lineage of these people. That was supposed to happen in Christianity, with Jesus passing on to Peter and Peter passing on to the next pope, but there was failure, right? Like that didn't happen. But I was all for it. And I was all for him. And then, when I would sit in, when we have these group meditations, I usually like to sit by the side close to where the stage was, where the master of the system or the preceptor would get up and give the sitting. And when Charji was still alive, when Kamlesh would come in to give the sitting, like I would feel something good in my heart, like a, feeling of love, obviously, but it's like a sense of well-being. Like I was happy that now there was going to be somebody to succeed Charji. And so I said this to Kamlesh. We had a tough interaction, and I said that to him, and he was very pleased. And then he offered me to do something. He had an organic garden. He wanted me to participate. This the stuff. But anyways, like I had nothing but with positive regard for him, and I wished him the best, and I was hoping that I was believing he was going to succeed and become a master equal to the other four masters in the system. And then he turned out to be a piece of shit, right? Just unbelievably stupidity, criminal stuff. Like he had a fall because I experienced his elevation. But as soon as Charji died, he started to shit on Charji and say horrible things about him. And I eventually made some videos about him. And one of the videos I called him a little bitch, right? Which I referenced in the last video. And I've never said anything like that about Jesus. I said that Jesus isn't who they say he is. Like he didn't evolve as much as people think or we've been told. But I believe, that in a difficult circumstance, working with a difficult population, the Romans and mostly the Israelites were a hard group to work for. It's not a very spiritual place and not a very, the whole thing. It's not a good situation. And Jesus did his best, and the people turn on him because they suck. And the religion now is not a reflection of who he is or what he did. But to say that I was trying to turn people away from Jesus, I've said the opposite. I said, if you're going to stick with Christianity, then maybe connect directly to Jesus. Not that I'm giving advice, but instead of going through the bullshit religion and the organizations that are there to, fleece you out of your money and lie to you, and people like Charlie Kirk, Charlie Shekels Kirk, and these other fucking flim-flam grifters, right? Why not connect to Jesus directly? I connected him directly. I had a dream with him in it. And so this is slander. What you're saying is fucking 100% bullshit, and provably so. So you're upset and your butt hurt, but you're making shit up, right? I never said any of those things. And so then to come in at the end and say, hey, by the way, Paul, you weren't even sick when you had COVID. And I talked about what a dick move it was, because I had people who said that I was shilling for something, and it wasn't the vax, because I don't believe in vaccines. Long before COVID, my kids weren't vaccinated, so I don't believe in it. And so, but people are saying I was shilling for something. When I came out, I said COVID, and I said it, because my wife was like, we have a lot. You should tell people, because we learn things about COVID, and I had information to offer to people. And I got some community guideline strikes for talking about COVID. Like YouTube punished me, and they had all these moronic flubies saying that COVID wasn't real and I wasn't really sick. And it's such a dick move. And this person's been around long enough to say that, this person, this hater, is probably somebody that left me a comment telling me I was full of shit when I said I had COVID, even though, I had 3 times, and all of them were other than me having mono, the 3 sickest times I've ever had, I've been sick was the 3 different COVIDs. I had COVID in March of 2020 when it first came out, and I'd wake up gasping for breath and was completely fucked. I would feel completely better the next day, and then I'd have horrible nights. And then I got the Omicron version of COVID where I got sick and it had different symptoms, but my body was devastated. I had lost all my energy. I couldn't do farm work. I was a fucking wreck, right? It wasn't something I fucking made up in my mind. Like, it was fucking bad. I didn't even think I was get COVID because I'm socially isolated, right? And so then I got the third version of COVID after it had been basically, whatever. It had been sort of, it was when it kind of mutated out of existence. And mostly what I was tired. But there was a day that I slept for 24 hours and I had no vital energy. I could barely get out of bed to go to the bathroom. I was completely wiped out. I had no life force. And then, then I got better. But my health has increased since then, and I've done a lot of various things to get rid of it. And I had a regular heartbeat. I had all these fucking things afterwards. I had all these post-COVID things. And to deny say I made that up with my mind, and I'm trying to turn everyone away from Jesus. This is what's depressing, it's a miracle that I'm not filled with hate, right? It's a miracle that all of us aren't filled with hate. Because people suck so fucking bad, right? Okay, so I took a break, ate lunch, went for a walk with my dogs and my wife, and we talked about this a little bit. I just want to wrap up what I was saying about Jesus. So, you either believe Jesus is happy with Christianity. You either believe Jesus is happy with Christianity or you don't. Either he's happy with it or he's not. It's a very binary thing. It comes down to, is Christianity living up to what Jesus wanted and what Jesus intended? It's all about intentions. And I think if anybody's being clear about it, in terms of the organized religion, in terms of what they've done with his teachings in the Bible, in terms of all these things, it's a major bummer. It's a major bummer even for a soul. A soul that's not in a body is less likely to get, doesn't have the capacity to be depressed or, any of these things. But, it's still got to sting a little bit on some level, right? Because all this comes down to interpretation. And so in terms of the debate between devil's horns or I love you, and I just went back, my video got another 1,500 views already since I started this morning. So it's taking off, and it's just too many dumbasses. I might have to just turn off the comments because most of the comments now are coming in from, people who are, whatever. Because it's gonna wreck the whole. I'm getting too many comments. I can't keep up with them anyway, and most of them are dumbass comments, right? These are superficial views where people see a title to something, and they click on it just so they can leave a comment saying, it's not the devil's horns, that's I love you. And if they tuned into the video, they'd see I already addressed that. I knew that was going to be said. My wife mentioned it to me. Various people sent it to me that people were saying it was the devil's horns, right? And I know the distinction between the thumb out and the thumb in. But there's these certain kind of comments where people just want to, oh, you got it wrong. You have to do your research. There's 2 more comments here I can read to you. These were ones that particularly stuck out. One person says, it's American Sign Language for I love you. It's a celebration of his life. Nice try, though. You are just plain petty. And that comes from one of the 400 people that left a comment to me telling I was full of shit. Right? And so there's one more comment here. One more to read. It's fucking not devil's horns, you idiot. It's I love you sign, you dingus. Those were back-to-back comments. And like I said, there's all these at once. So I don't really want to restate what I said in the video because I said it already in the video, but I did reference that this would be, people would say that's I love you. I said this was going to happen. It's just to the degree that people, dumb fucks, were going to find my video. And it's, they have, because it's got 14,000 views. I was down to under 2,000 right before this Charlie Kirk thing happened. So I guess, but bringing in dumb fucks isn't great. There's times I got 2 million views on one of my videos. I got millions of views, hundreds of thousands of views on some of the celebrity videos, some of the Illuminati stuff I used to cover. But, it was a lot of dumb fucks that couldn't really understand my better videos, my videos now, right? They weren't going to evolve with this channel. So every time I got a video that got lots of views, it was, I needed hundreds of people, thousands of people to find one good one, to find somebody who understood, who could benefit from what I do here and, the more spiritual and cerebral type of content. Or people like the comedy, the dry sense of humor stuff. So those are the things that I have to offer here that people either understand or don't understand. And that's also whatever it is. And so it's great that there are more views, but they're not real views. They're not going to deliver a lot of regular viewers who can listen to long form videos that I put out here are going to understand, especially with these comments, these dumb fuck comments about the I love you sign. But what I said in the original video, or I'll kind of expand on it now, I don't get into symbolism so much, but that ritual at the end of this thing, the weirdness between her and Trump, her hugging him like he was her dad, her family not being there, how bad that whole thing was, how fake it was, how Illuminati it was, how ritualistic it was. And then out of the blue, she throws up what, you could interpret as I love you, and she'll say it's I love you, or you could interpret it as the devil sign. But what I said in the video is she must be aware that there is lots of Christians, the people who have problems with rock and roll bands throwing up the devil's horns, and sometimes they throw it with the thumb out, right? Sometimes it's thrown up like that. And this idea that, and so Christians mostly interpret everything as a devil sign, and especially if it's done by somebody other than Erica Kirk, right? That's the Christian position. Most Christians who leave comments or say things know that that's the devil's horns, or say it's the devil's horns. Just like when someone gives the okay sign, that means 666, right? And then they do this 666 thing where they look through the hole there with their eye, like the Illuminati eye. And so that's also done. And so who knows what the person means by it? Like, who knows if the person's throwing up an okay sign, this okay sign. And then other people said it was some white supremacist sign, right? That the white supremacists were, this was what liberals were interpreting it as. And so the only person that really knows is a person who throws it up, right? We don't know what their intentions are. And I don't give a shit about symbolism. I used to cover it more here, but it really doesn't matter. But what I would say is, why wouldn't she know that throwing up those horns could be interpreted as a devil sign? That's what I said in the video. Why wouldn't she know that people might misinterpret it if she was trying to say, I love you? And why do something that might be controversial when you've already had this fucking fake performance and the weird shit with Trump? I mean, the whole thing was fucking weird. This whole martyrdom thing, the whole thing bathed in red, all the questions about the legitimacy of the official story. I mean, all these things. You're supposed to be grieving, and you're sitting there hugging and smooching it up with Donald J. Trump, and you're, in a weird way, very clingy. And then you throw this weird sign up to the heavens. Now, she'll say, I mean, I love you. There's no question that if she was asked, that's what she would say. But you'd have to ask her why she did that, when you know that there'd be some Christians who would interpret it as the devil's horns. And you have to say, I love you one more time? Like, did you say it enough? Like, with your fake performance, everybody gets it. You loved him, and he was great, and he was a saint, and you'll miss him forever, and you're going to be his grieving widow, even though it's all fake and performative. And so why throw up that symbol? Why throw it up like, you're on a rock and roll concert? And like I said, one of my viewers interpreted it as rock and roll, not even as the devil's horns, and not as I love you. And so it's just a weird thing to do. But then you get all these dumbasses who want to, correct me. Again, if they had watched the video, there's a lot more in the video. And I said that, yeah, this could also be interpreted as that. I already acknowledged this, but they just commented on the title and the picture because they're just dumb fucks who just showed up and they don't belong here anyway. You know, the content isn't going to change. I mean, I'm going to evolve and change as I grow or whatever, and it's going to be less available or accessible to people. That's how the way it is. Like, so I'm not making videos that are more aimed towards popular opinion. This is a video that has some, you know, pop to it because of Devil's Horn things, and it's making the rounds. YouTube seems to be recommending it, and I think it's a funny, good video, aside from the controversy. But, you know, now it's just dumb fucks coming and saying, oh, you know, this kind of thing. Right? But what is her intention here, right? Like, why did she do it? Like, why did she throw this up? Again, it seems over the top that she needs to say, I love you one more time to him after doing all this fake crying and all these things. And so, you know, it's just, it's goofy. And the whole thing seemed very ritualistic. The problem for her is this. Erica Kirk, you know, women who are beauty beauty contestants, they don't usually are truthers or speak their truth, right? They very seldom are. You know, they just are. They want to be spokesmodels. You know, they want to be in commercials. They want to, you know, marry some you know, rich guy or whatever it is, right? And they're just, you know, side pieces. They're just you know, trophy wives or whatever. They're spokesmodels. They're not there to speak up and call controversy. You know, Charlie called out evil, and she went up to him and said, you know, that was dangerous, or don't do that without consulting me first, or whatever. And she was worried about them saying certain things that, you know, could end up, I don't know, with this current situation. But she's not a controversial person. She's not going to go against, I mean, she wants to be, you know, she lights up when she gets to be near people who are more famous than her. She talked about Vice President Vance and President Trump and Usha, Vance's wife, and all these things. She wasn't talking about her family or any of these other people. She was talking about, you know, she likes to name drop, and she'd be a host on Entertainment Tonight or something like that. You know, people who just want to be seen and in front of everybody. You know, she's more sincere in some of the older videos that are more informal, but she clearly, you know, when she's asked to do something like a speech like she's doing, she goes into fake mode, like she goes into performance mode. She's totally insincere in the two speeches that she gave, and unnecessarily so, right? But, you know, just to end this thing here, if she's going to throw up the devil's horns, and, you know, Trump does it, Trump does the 666, you know, a lot of these people do that. And then you could throw out the thumb out there so you have plausible deniability, which is a lot of what this video is about. But just like I know there was going to be a bunch of people saying it was I love you, because that's what they want to believe, because they want to believe in her and they want to believe in the speech. They want to defend her. And so you can't talk to those people. And there's other people who are going to say it's the devil's horns for sure, because that's what they want to believe, right? But only a you know, complete moron would not know that there's going to be controversy. That by doing that she's inviting in this controversy amongst all these types of people, you know, conspiratorial people and people who might not be digging her or might question this whole thing and all the ritualistic aspect. And maybe it's done intentionally to provoke that, right? So who knows? But, you know, it's kind of fucked. Anyways, so let's wrap this one up here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount, definitely important for the apocalypse. In the ascension, everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.